It is a delight. I must say, it is a delight to see so many people coming into the six screens network programs we have every Saturday night and every other Sunday. So thank you for wanting to come in and be part of the program tonight and sharing some time with us. Well, my name's Rick Farron. I'm up here at the Apostate, capital of the world, up here in Boston, Massachusetts, and we do have the bragging rights. If you want to find the biggest gathering of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses ever in the history of that movement, well, you can find it on AI. Just go into Chat GPT or Gemini or any AI platform and ask them where the largest group of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses ever met. It was right up here in Beantown, the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston. Well, anyways, it's so good to have you coming in. It's amazing to me what's going on in the Watchtower. I know everyone is aware of it, I think. I mean, maybe we have some new people coming in for the first time, but it must really be said that the Watchtower is changing dramatically day in, day out, that the witnesses can't keep up with it. We can't keep up with it, but I tell you what, the ex-witnesses are more aware of the changes in the Watchtower than the active, PME, loyal witnesses. So that's an amazing thing as well. So we'll get into a little bit of story. Then I'm going to bring my friend on from New Zealand. He'll come on in a few minutes. So hang in there, Steve. I see him in the backstage right now. We'll bring Steve on in just a little bit. He wants to tell us some things that are going on over there in New Zealand. But let's take a look and see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And I'm first of all going to start off with something that I find we're going to talk about that zone meeting today too, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. But there's a few things I want to discuss first before we get into all of that. And we are watching the Watchtower organization free falling right now. They are definitely on life support. I don't know where they're going to go from here. It really is starting to really come to grips with not only myself, but many Jehovah's Witnesses are wondering what is going on with this Watchtower organization. So we'll be talking a little bit about that as well in a while. But I again welcome you coming in here. This is where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk. And, you know, the Watchtower, I got a thought. In fact, I came across a really good saying that I like a lot, and I have to really attribute. I have to say I can liken it to the Watchtower. Now, the Watchtower, what they're not acknowledging is the truth is quiet. We hear very little truth, if any, from the Watchtower, but it says the lies are loud. So in the Watchtower, the truth is quiet, but the lies are loud. And how loud they are in the recent months that we've been following here at the six screens. And I have to tell you, and you know it anyways, the Watchtower organization is failing so many people right now. So many people are totally disappointed with what's going on. Well, why are they failing people? Well, there's a number of reasons, but you know, there's some information I got to bring to your attention. I got thinking about it today. You know, there's a lot of elders that are just throwing the towel in. They're really saying, you know, I can't take it anymore. I don't want to be an elder anymore. A lot of the elders, and let me tell you, I'm not saying this in a demeaning way, but they don't have the best jobs. And I had a man give me some information today that just gave me a little rundown on the type of jobs that all of the elders in his congregation have. Now, I'm not beating up on the jobs. I'd be willing to take any job I would take to support my family and what have you. It's not about the jobs, but it's just these poor brothers. They never got education. They were never able to really advance themselves in a good career. So they had to really get involved in businesses, little side gigs or jobs that don't pay a lot of money. And so the elder body in so many congregations are really feeling the heat of a weakened economy. And with the price of gasoline, with the cost of housing, and with the cost of food, so many elders are having a difficult time. So the man gave me some information today concerning elder body in his congregation. He says it consists of 2 school bus drivers. Now, school bus drivers don't make a lot of money, but we need school bus drivers. I'm not picking on the profession. I'm not picking on professions. I'm just saying that you can't make a lot of money as a school bus driver. And there's a pest control in his congregation. One of the elders is a pest control technician. Maybe he works for Orkin. They go around spraying chemical around the house for the bugs and rodents won't get in your house. They don't make a lot of money either, but you need them. You need them. And I really give these people credit. Another one is a lawn weed control technician. Again, it's a job. It's not a bad job. It's not really the poorest paying job, but it's certainly not a job that can really support you to a higher level. I mean, not that we're all shooting for a higher level, but I mean, in the witness world, you have to have a high level to go. You have to have more money than you can earn. You've got to get second jobs or whatever just to get to conventions, use your car in service. So it costs money to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And then, of course, in this man's congregation, he says he has one elder that's unemployed, and his wife supports him, so he's not even working. And then another elder is a gas station attendant. And listen, we all need gas station attendants, and we can't pump our own gas. But, they don't make a lot of money either. I got a good friend who's a gas station attendant. He's just squeezing by. He's telling me he's having a hard time paying his rent. So you can just imagine what is going on in the witness world where you can't get a good job. And also a retired military person. And this is why I'm thinking out loud here, friends. Now, don't hold me totally accountable for what I'm going to say next. But this could really add more trouble to the Watchtower organization. You got elders now, and I'll tell you what, with all these tremendous changes that have been taking place in the organization, a lot of these elders are starting to say, hey, look it. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to make more money. I can't do all this anymore. I just can't keep up with it. They're having, many of these elders are having breakdowns. Did you know that? Yes, the stress is getting to many of these elders. And these guys aren't shepherds anymore. Geez, with all of the work they're trying to perform to keep a roof over their head, the organization wants them going out at least once a week on shepherding calls. And, they can't. How can a man or anybody really that's so stressed out in life, you're up to your eyeballs with difficulties and trouble, how can you go out and be a shepherd? How can you go out and encourage other people when you're practically, dying on the sidewalk? So they never really were shepherds, but it's not their fault. The Watchtower tried to make them shepherds. So what you've got here is you have a bunch of elders that really are getting tired. And look, there's good elders too. Not all elders are bad. There's some really, really good elders. I've had some myself, but I know some of them, they didn't have good jobs. They weren't making money, and they had all this added anxiety they're now having to deal with. So I wanted to bring this up tonight, and it really concerns me because the Watchtower is always wanting these elders to do more. And yet at the same time, how is it they can take care of the people in the congregation when they're having a hard enough time taking care of themselves? And for most witnesses, now just stop and think about this. They don't have, if you're not really working for a good company or you really can't afford it, you're not going to get good insurance. You're going to have very poor health care. And if you have to rely on the bottom of the barrel for doctors and what have you, you're going to end up with poor medical advice. So you have a bunch of these elders, many of them actually reaching retirement age. Their savings are gone. They have none. And it's really not their fault. It's really not. The Watchtower put them in a position that Armageddon's coming. Why go out and get a career? Well, why go to school? Not in high school. Why go to like college after high school? Now they're allowing that. Of course they are. Why do you think they're allowing it? Because they're seeing all of the elders that can't keep up anymore. So a lot of the elders, they do not have the skills that are needed in today's world to support themselves. And did you know that many Jehovah's Witnesses are actually living in with one another? Many Jehovah's Witnesses have been evicted. Many Jehovah's Witnesses have got to get together and live with one another. Now, I'm not saying it's epic proportion here, but it is happening from the information that comes in here to the 6 grains. Well, it's really something that I want to discuss with you tonight because I don't think it's going to change. I think it's going to get worse and worse as we go forward. And all of those that really have given to the Watchtower all of their energy, all of their resource, many of them a lot of money, and now the Watchtower is hanging them out to dry. So, elders, if you're listening in, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. If you can't get to the meetings, if you can't get to the conventions, don't blame you at all if you can't do a shepherding call. You guys really have gone above and beyond your line of duty for the Watchtower. I mean, even though you understand now that a lot of things they taught you, a lot of their policy that they made so profoundly noticeable in your life, then you had to adhere to it. Well, it's now taken away. Everything seems to be getting different. So, another thing I want to say too, I did some research on AI, and you can do it yourself. But I wanted to see, are Jehovah's Witnesses, I asked AI, are Jehovah's Witnesses poor? Most of the people in the Jehovah's Witness organization poor? And I was really surprised what the AI came back with. As a matter of fact, the AI said they have one of the lowest average household incomes of any religious group, with roughly half earning less than $30,000 a year. $30,000. Half of them are earning less than that. That's not a lot of money today. It'd be very difficult to live on $30,000 a year. Well, especially up here in New England and other parts of the country too, not just here. But rent, mortgage payments, you're looking at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. $30,000 a year is not going to cut it. Now, AI said one of the reasons why Jehovah's Witnesses are so poor is it's linked to the faith's discouragement of higher education. But within the last 6 months, we know they changed it. So they'll probably have to change it on here, but in AI, but right now they're not, because, that's water under the bridge. And people are talking about that water under the bridge. Now some of the young ones will be able to get an education, and the Watchtower can probably at least start seeing these people make enough money to keep a roof over their head. So, but also AI was saying that, they have to take work in lower income jobs, just like I was saying. And friends, when you're trying to support a family, you got a wife, you got children taken care of, you got your payments you got to pay. You're going to take any job you can get. You can't be picky. You've got to take any job you can get at that time. So poverty is a lifestyle of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, not all. There are some witnesses that are rich too. But, I found this very interesting. Pew Research, PEW Research, they do research on religions mostly, and they gather surveys and facts about them. And they're saying that Jehovah's Witnesses consistently rank lowest in household incomes in the United States. So, we said that earlier, but according to a impact group or study concerning education, they find that Jehovah's Witnesses have one of the lowest rates of education as well. So now you got, people that really, no, I'm not saying that Jehovah's Witnesses are dumb. I'm not saying that. But I mean, if you have education, you can at least put some feelers out for a better job. But there's no education. They have little money. They can't even take the time off really to go look for a better job. So this is what we're dealing with here, and I'm not in any way trying to make it sound like the poor brothers that are working, it's their fault they can't make money. I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming the Watchtower. There's people listening to this program right now that have fallen through the cracks. They're listening in. I get information from a man today that's 73 years old. I'm sorry, 63 even. 63 years old. And he said that he can't do it. He's not going to be able to retire. He's going to have to, because he's an ex-witness now, but he was saying that he's not going to be able to retire. He's going to have to work the rest of his life. Now, that's sad. That is sad. So we're going to talk more about what money in the Watchtower and what have you. That's coming up. But what I want to do is I want to bring my good friend on right now. I got a good friend. In fact, he's the biggest apostate in all of New Zealand, and we all love Steve. So we're going to bring Steve on right now. He's going to tell us what happened this week, and then we'll get back to the news. But let's go over to Steve right now. He's out there in New Zealand. Let's bring him on. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Rick.
So there you are, Steve.
Yep. Yes, the Jehovah's Witnesses were witnessing in my neighborhood last week, and I had a good time, and I would like to show you one of my videos, what I had done. See, have a look.
Put up close. I'm going to make it on a big screen here so people can see it. So bring it closer so we can see it. So tell us if we couldn't get a good picture there, but tell us, Steve, what that's all about. What's going on there?
The Jehovah's Witnesses are doing their field ministry, and I see the elder with the beard, Claude. You will see Claude.
So you saw an elder with a beard. So they're growing beards in the organization, even over there in New Zealand, huh? So
yeah.
I play around with electricity.
There you go. Well, good job, buddy. Good job.
See, though, I'm dancing in the street.
Well, I mean, you're living up to your title as big as apostate in New Zealand. All right. So they didn't want to listen to you, right? I mean, they left when you went up to them, did they?
No.
What did they do? Did they shoo you away? I mean, you kind of let them know.
No,
you can take that. Take the video down now. We want to talk to you. We've seen enough of that because it's not coming in clear. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Now, what happened? Okay.
Shut that up.
I said when they were witnessing in my street, I started dancing in the street with my sign.
Well, there you go. So you gave him a whole lot of information about themselves. Well, so we don't have a lot of apostates in New Zealand, but there's your sign. Yeah, Jehovah's organization is under investigation for pedophilia in New Zealand. Governments around the world. Good job, Steve. Good job. You're doing a good job over there. All right. Yeah, we see it. There it is.
And I'll show you another video. There was.
Well, we don't know. We have no time for another video. We'll bring you on another time for that. Okay. No time for another video. But I just wanted to give you. I had a program all lined up, and you called me last minute. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When the L there was
Steve, hold on. Someone wants to say hello to you. Go ahead. Who wants to say hello to Steve? Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll take over.
Yeah. Hi.
Did you want to say hello to Steve, Jeff? Just say hello to Steve. He's the biggest apostate in New Zealand.
Hello, Steve. You're a good man.
He's a good man, Jeff. You're right. He's a good man.
What the JW men do is the JW men rape young woman in the congregation. They drug them before raping them. The JW. I've been hearing a story about a JW man who brings girls and teenage girls and young women into the back room, a JW elder, and he does something very dirty. He puts his hand.
Yeah, we won't. Steve, we won't go into detail there. But anyways, what I want to do, I want to thank you for coming on. We got to get back to our news, but I want to bring you on. I'll let people know that you're doing a good job over there. Keep up the good work.
I dance in the street.
Dance. You just keep dancing in the street. Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. And we'll get you back on one of these times. But tonight we kind of got a full news program. Thank you, though, for wanting to come on and be with us. All right, Steve. All right. Let me get you into slow mode here. Okay, there we go. All right. That's Steve, the biggest apostate in New Zealand. Yeah, always good to see Steve. But anyways, let's get back to JW World News. I don't know if you heard it or not. But the Jehovah's Witnesses this week bought a $16 million, I'm sorry, I think it's more, a $16 million luxury hotel. Now, I might have that number wrong. I'll have to go back and check it. I think it's more than that. No, I guess it was a $16 million. I thought it was more than that. But they bought a $16 million luxury hotel close to the beach in Korsør, Denmark, to be used as a regional training center for Jehovah's Witnesses from several European countries. Now, I want you to stop. I'm just going to have to mute somebody here for a second. Give me a second, folks, to look in here. Going to go back here. Okay. We're going to mute your mic, Steve. You can listen in, but we're going to mute your mic so we have nice, clear sound. Okay, so the $16 million hotel the Jehovah's Witness organization bought in Denmark, right on the beach, and they're going to have it for a training center. I guess training people from Europe on Jehovah's. I mean, do they need a hotel that big? And it's big. In fact, let me put a picture up. So we get an idea how big it is. It's not some small time, hotel. Let's take a look at it here. And you can see it.
That sounds wonderful. Right on the water.
Right there on the water, Pixie. And there it is, $16 million. Now they're claiming that's going to be a training center. I rather doubt it. I mean, do you really? I mean, you could have a training center at Kingdom Hall. You could have it in an assembly hall. To buy a $16 million hotel and right on the beach. Sounds like it's a little fishy to me. So it sounds like, I mean, do the witnesses have to come and stay on the beach? Sounds like a resort hotel to me. It's good property. I mean, beach property is always good. And the Watchtower is making out like a bandit with some of this property they're buying. So I wanted you to see that. So that's a hotel, beautiful looking place. And the thing is,
They come with salmon and clinking glasses of champagne.
Well, it probably would, Pixie, because I mean, now that they can do it, I'm sure they're going to take full advantage of it. But actually, the name of the hotel, it used to be known as the Comwell Grand Park Hotel in Korsør, Sweden. So we've got a. Hey, listen, friends, it's not a Motel 6 where they're going to leave the light on for you. That this is a big buck hotel. Now, just to give you a little idea, it's almost 10,000 square feet. That's pretty big. It has 134 rooms. And I have to keep reading this because it's kind of getting stuck in my head. A regional training center for Jehovah's Witnesses. And they're going to be coming from several European countries. That's what the real estate agent said. Well, that's what the Watchtower told him. But do you really think it's going to be a training center? I don't. I really don't see it. And they'll get the witnesses to come in and the witnesses will come in and refurbish it, free skilled labor coming in, redo it all over, and then eventually the Watchtower will sell it all off. So I wanted to bring that to attention. But as far as a training center, I think that's BS. I really do. I think the Watchtower has been pulling this stunt for years. I really do. They're buying this. Remember the Geico building in New York, the big media center up in Ramapo. I think this is all a scam of some type. And then hopefully, if it is one, the authorities will certainly come up, knock on the door and say, what are you guys doing? Because this could be illegal, but I'm not saying it is, but it could be. Why does a Watchtower need all these buildings? And they're very expensive buildings. Watchtower's not buying slums. Yeah.
Hi, it's Maverick here.
Yes.
I wonder if this is a best serum 2.0, like a luxury best serum for the 21st century.
Well, they're buying that. This is not crummy looking property. This is good looking stuff,
I was just thinking they should call it the Governing Body Luxury New Light Center.
I like the new light center. I like that. I like that a lot. They can put nice LED lights all over the building. The new light center. But you know what? Why I even bring this up? Yeah. Go ahead. You want to say something else? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
What about a Ponzi scheme? How about a Ponzi scheme?
I agree. There's something crazy about it, but what really gets my goat, so to speak? It really gets me upset that here they are buying all this expensive real estate. Here they are involved in an asset management company in Ireland, and here they are spending. Friends, I want to tell you, I think I've got the number here wrong. I think that it's not 16 million. I believe the Watchtower paid more for it. I'm getting somehow. I don't know if my computer here knocked a couple of numbers off. You knock one number off, it's very, very meaningful. Let's see. Let me just see something here.
They finally put a pool in up there at the lake. So maybe they wanted heated spas, extra pool, different catering, lake view. Sounds like it would be nice to retire there and just live at the hotel.
Well, wouldn't it be nice, Pixie? It'd be a nice way to live. I'm saying, folks, I think it was more than 16 million. Somehow my computer chopped the figures off. I think it might have been over 100 million or close to it. But I'll give you those figures next week. But it doesn't matter. It's a lot of money, one way or the other. But what I just wanted to bring up here as well, and it's really ticks me off, the Danish newspaper, it's called Extra Bladet. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing it right, but it's something like that. And it's in Denmark. And what they did just back in 2024, they had an article about Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm glad I found this today. In Denmark in 2024, this newspaper, it's in Denmark. I said Sweden earlier, but it's actually Denmark. I'm sorry. In Denmark, they have this newspaper that in 2024 reported that Jehovah's Witnesses were swimming in money. Swimming in money. That was right in the newspaper. I think back then we even reported it. And when I got thinking of that today, Jehovah's Witness organization swimming in money. Well, we know they're not poor. We know they're not going bankrupt. But I had to go back and find something here because I'm going to show you a picture from a Watchtower magazine. I had to go back to 2017 study edition of the Watchtower magazine. Now, I don't know if you remember it, but I'll show you the picture. Maybe you will. It specifically accompanies the title. This picture that I'm going to show you accompanies the title, Trust in Jehovah and Do Good. And what it does, it focuses on how individuals can rely on God when facing difficult circumstances or limited resources. In other words, if you're a poor Jehovah's Witness, this article is saying that, just kind of go with it, do what you can, give us what you can. It actually even mentioned that in the article, but I want to show you the picture. Let me show you the picture. Then we can keep talking about this because it'll add a lot of color to what I'm trying to say here. Well, let me show you the picture. Let me get this up so you can see it. Now, this here, do you remember that picture right there? See that woman right there? That's an old woman. Now, in this article, the Watchtower is just mentioning, there she is. She's looking in her refrigerator, and she's got one little container of food. That's all she's got. And then also she's there at the table, and she's counting out her change from a little jar. This is all the money she has, and she's counting out the change. And it's kind of suggesting that she's going to give that money, which she did suggest in the Watchtower, to still donate even though you're poor, is what the article is saying. So that picture, people think in pictures, they remember in pictures, they move to action in pictures. That's an image that's stuck in my head for a long time. How dare the Watchtower do this to people? Older people right now are being scammed left and right. And the Watchtower is doing the same thing here with this imagery of a lady that's poor as can be, but still looking for money. It's very disgusting that you would see this in a Watchtower magazine, a Christian so-called magazine that's supposed to be really helping people. They're hurting people. Actually, that illustration, it's actually divided into two parts to tell the story of wholehearted trust. So what they're saying basically to the people who were studying the Watchtower, that, have wholehearted trust. Even if you're poor and like that poor lady, you only have a little bit of food in your refrigerator and you're counting up, change to be able to even get by in life. It's showing that, just rely on Jehovah, and Jehovah will help you. But don't neglect giving to the organization. That article actually encouraged people to give when they're poor. And, that sounds like prosperity ministry to me. These people come on like Joyce Myers and Kenneth Copeland, and some of these other people come on, give us your money and you get more money back. And actually, then the Watchtower is not saying we're going to give you money back. God's going to give you money back. But they're saying, give the money and God will bless you. You'll be a friend of God if you give the money. All right, who wants to speak up? You're on with us. Go ahead.
Well, hey, brother.
Let's go with Thomas Hodgins first. That you, Thomas? Go ahead. All right, let's go with Thomas. Did you want to come on? All right, let's go with Jeffrey. Jeffrey, what do you have to say?
You there?
Yeah. Go ahead, Thomas.
No. Okay.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Messed up. Anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's just crazy what's going on. I really think the Watchtower is a big phony when it comes to these things. I think they're not doing as good as people think they are, because I think they're paying out a lot of settlements. I think that's why they had those two men in black go meet that woman to try to get her settled out of court, but she's got $100 million lawsuit against them. So I think their day's coming when they'll get hammered pretty good. And I think in time we'll see them just go down. And I think this media center is a big fraud. I think they're just sucking a lot of money out of people. I don't think they can raise the money they need for that thing, but we'll see what happens. But their day's coming one of these days. That's my thoughts.
Well, I like the way you talk, Thomas. I always like the way you talk. You're on the same boat I'm on. They're going down. I know they are. Go ahead. Let's go with 8. Is that 8? Okay, let's go with 813. 813. Let's go with that. 813, run with us. All right, 813 doesn't want to speak up. All right, let's go to. All right.
Did you mean 831?
Well, we got an 831 and an 813, but go ahead with 831. That's you, Anne-Marie.
I know, I was just thinking of all the advocations to donate, no matter how poor you are. Jehovah will bless you. I'd love to see the governing body have the same attitude. Wouldn't that be nice? Thank you, Rick.
Well, Anne-Marie, you're hoping for something that would never happen. They're never gonna. Their attitude's never gonna change. Let's go. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Let's take a look. All right. Well, let's go on. We'll get to some more callers here in a little bit, but I want to bring up some more information that I think is very important. What I want you to do now, let me just mute a few people here that might be open line. Okay, let's do that.
Hey, Rick, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Susan.
Do Bethelites have to contribute to the Watchtower? Do they set aside money?
Well, not a lot said about that, but all Jehovah's Witnesses have. Yeah, well, all Jehovah's Witnesses have to contribute. I mean, no one puts a gun to your back. No one says, well, you have to put $10 in. Well, I'll take that back. When I was a witness, nobody said that. As of late, though, they're looking for a number from you. They're looking for you to pledge so much. They're trying to get $10 per publisher per month.
But does that apply to Bethelites?
I've never.
Governing body.
Well, it would apply to all Jehovah's Witnesses. Nobody's exempt from donations. All Jehovah's Witnesses are encouraged to give. Now, some people can give more than others. Some people, in fact, I'll tell you what, in fact, one thing I found, because I used to be involved, of course, in territory and money coming in with the literature and all of that stuff. And what I have found in the congregations is sometimes the poorest people give the most. And I was told that once. A lot of poor people give a lot of money. A lot of the rich people don't give too much. But I'm not saying that's a general rule, but at least that was what I was told. And what happened?
Poor people have their own kind of prosperity gospel notion. That's not a new religion or belief. And I agree with you. I have seen where a lot of low-income people think that if they send the money out, it'll come back double, and they just end up losing money.
Oh, that's right, Pixie. No, it is true. And I can see why people would do that. I mean, poor people, I'll take it down. Go into any bad area in town. Go to the worst area that you know of in your city and just take a walk around. You're going to find nip bottles, but you're also going to find tons of lotto tickets on the ground. I see it in the city I live next to here, and tons of lotto tickets just thrown on the ground. The poor people, they're hoping that, I'm going to buy a lotto ticket and I'm going to win a lot of money. It always doesn't happen. But it's the same thing with this prosperity ministry. If you have someone say, look at like Joyce Myers the other day, she comes on in the morning. And I don't watch her, but I thumb through the channels and I see her on at 5 o'clock in the morning. And she's asking for money. You give us money and you're going to make money. Do you think that really works? No. People think it does. Okay. Thank you, Pixie. Well, boy, we got a lot of people coming in here. I have to tell you, I was telling Anne-Marie earlier, we have seen our numbers here grow like crazy. I'm not sure why, but I got an idea. It's growing because there's a lot of people getting out of the Watchtower right now. That's why the numbers are growing. All right, who's got the line open here? Someone want to say something? Let's go with go ahead, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Rick.
Yes.
This is just Constance, just message here. I was going to say, your earlier story with regard to that luxury hotel, Rich and I just pulled it up because we had seen it this week as well. And Vern from Canada, Fixing My Faith, did it 2 days ago. And it was $17 million for that hotel in Sweden.
Oh, it was? Okay.
So thank you.
Do you know what it was on the market for? Did Vern say that? Yeah. In other words, it was on the market. It was on.
Remember that, Rich? No, I don't. But Watchtower did.
Well, I just.
$15 million.
Yeah, that's true. I just read it. In fact, I got the article right here. I'm just going through it. They put it on the market before Watchtower bought it. That company that had it put that hotel on the market for $110 million, and the Watchtower got up. And the Watchtower got up at $17 million. That's what was confusing me. I'm saying, how in goodness' name's sake can they be talked down that much? They must have had to pay more than $17 million, but that's what's being reported. They got it. Gee, hey, listen, cash talks, right? And they got bags of cash. They walk in, boom, Jeez. But
And the other thing too, Rich, if I can just finish, the other thing too is Vern was saying, it's a very nice hotel, but it needed a lot of repairs. It was going to be quite expensive. So the previous owner did not want to invest that much money to repair it, to make it up to date. But then, of course, Watchtower is an opportunist. So they're going in for the kill for a great opportunity to buy something like this. And what they're going to do is have the brothers do all the free labor. Rich wants to say something, honey. Hold on.
Rick, it wouldn't surprise me if this had something to do with the New World Order, with the globalist Illuminati, that type of thing. You don't sell something for 110,000 and take a 17 and buy it for 17 million. That's crazy. There's some hanky-panky, which is so indicative of the Watchtower. Thanks, Rick.
yeah, it was a newspaper that was reporting that. And that's why I'm scratching my head too. 110,000. I mean, I've never seen real estate drop that fast. But boy, but like Connie says, it needed some repairs, and maybe it was distressed property. Maybe the people had it and they were, had to pay some loans or whatever the case would be. So they had to kind of unload it. But the Watchtower got a deal. But like Constance says, you're going to get free labor. You're going to get people come in there and clean it all up. And what really got me with that, it's right on the water, right on the beach. It's like a resort.
Yeah.
And now you've got, do they need that for a training center? Do you need 134 rooms for something's not passing the smell test here,
You know what, Rick, just as I thought, is if it's in Sweden, maybe Grace will come on.
Well, I said Sweden, but I think I said Sweden, but I get those Scandinavian countries. It's actually in Denmark, I guess. Yeah. But I was just kind of glued to that story because, and then I always remember that picture of the woman, counting her change and looking in the refrigerator. There's one container looked like a macaroni salad or something. And I'm saying that poor woman's got nothing to eat. And here she is counting her money to give to the Watchtower. Isn't that something? Yes.
So, hey, those folks are right. They will use Watchtower labor because they encourage you to go to trade or get into trades to make a living. But they'll use those guys and women maybe, to repair that hotel. It needs to be, from plumbing to drywall to, concrete work, what have you, and electrician work. It's a Ponzi scheme is what it is. And then they'll rent that out. I can see what they're going to do. It doesn't take any dummy to figure that out. So,
well,
Can I interject a joke?
Go ahead. You come on with us.
I'm going to interject a joke now. They're going to turn that into the new improved Bethel.
Well, it would be a new improved Bethel. I like what someone said earlier. They said you could call that place the New Light Center, the New Light Center. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dean. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm hearing the different prices for this hotel in Denmark. The thing to be careful with is to make sure you're talking about the same current denomination for currency. So I saw something about krona, which is a lot smaller than a dollar. So the price is bigger in krona, and it might translate to the smaller amount in dollars. So you might want to check the foreign currency translation.
Well, thank you. And check. I meant to do that. And I was doing that right before, and then Anne-Marie cut a little early tonight, so I forgot to do that. But did you get what a kroner is equal to in U.S. dollars, Zach?
I'm not sure, but perhaps 0.16.
0.16. So it's worth less money, you're saying? All right. Well, yeah. Well,
that would explain why it seems to be such a large amount, but then they bought it for this smaller amount.
All right. Well, thank you, Zach, for making that clear. Yeah, no, and
Different.
I meant to do that and try to get the numbers, but I didn't have time. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, those-
All right. So we've got, I don't know. I mean, did you guys, are you really beginning to put two and two together? Are you really beginning to see that it's a money-making scheme, that the Watchtower is a business? It can't be doing things to further God's kingdom. I don't see that. I would say that they could have, I'm not going to say how they should be spending their money. It's not my place to do it. But if I was still an active Jehovah's Witness and I was donating money like a person paying taxes, right? You can have some say. In other words, when you see money being spent foolishly in America and you're a tax-paying citizen, you have a right to at least say, well, I don't agree with them doing that. But I mean, I can't really comment on Watchtower financing now because I'm out. But if I was still in there giving money like I was giving, I would have to question this. Do we need that? Do we need that hotel? Do we really need it?
They have so much isolation of their people. Even bright people can be ignorant of facts if they're isolated from those facts. So the rank and file probably aren't even aware of this luxury real estate purchase.
It's something that, the rank and file is, the apostates, us people, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we know more about the Watchtower than loyal elders do, probably even more than circuit overseers do. We know more. I don't know why, even when I was a witness, I couldn't name two governing body members at the time, but, I can name a number of them now. I didn't know what was going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. I had no time to even think about it. But now that we're ex-witnesses, it's different. Yeah.
Well, we're truly awake and we have time and we don't block from our minds that we can research these things on the internet. We don't have a block against using the internet. And the other day I was going through some business stuff and throwing away stuff from the old shop. And I found it's ironic and a little bit funny. And God bless the brother, whoever Don was. This brother named Don, he'd given my dad 2 of his business cards, and he was savvy enough to print these beautiful business cards. But Don's profession was actually window washer. It's a fact.
Well, yeah, that is a fact. And we even mentioned that a little earlier, why a lot of the elders, a man gave me some information this week in his congregation, as I was saying, and he said that I think he said every one of the elders had like low paying jobs. Now, I take any job. If you have to go to work, you would take it and you do the best you can at it. And there's no such, and it's whether you're washing windows, cutting yards, whatever you're doing, do the best you can. It's all a job and you do it gracefully and you do it the way it should be done. But the point I wanted to make with that is all of the elders in this congregation had very low paying jobs. And, I'm not blaming the elders. But they can't, with the high cost of everything right now, a lot of the elders in this congregation, they're falling through the cracks. They can't keep up on the rent. They can't keep up on supporting their family. They got to be taking side jobs. They can't do the shepherding calls. So what's happening is, I don't blame the brothers at all. I know some brothers right here that were really my good friends that had really lousy jobs. They couldn't make a lot of money. And I blame the Watchtower for that. But that they're changing their position.
They have my compassion. But the irony of it is that here's this good, upstanding brother, and he was proud of his job, and he's got a business card as a window washer, whereas in the big world, your dentist has a card like that. Whereas somebody's a technical writer, they have a card like that. We were so isolated from the big world. So the rank and file aren't probably going to know about the luxury property.
I would rather think they don't. I don't think they're even totally aware of it. And, just on the window washing thing, that job always seems to be picked on. Oh, window washer. Well, let me tell you something. If you're a window washer and you're getting up on this scaffolding and getting up cleaning windows on a high-rise building, those guys are making serious money. I mean, serious money. So, I'll tell you what, it's a great little job for someone. I was in a donut shop the other day, and there was a man there, and he's retired, and he's got a little bucket there, and he goes in, washes the window in this store. He probably picks up 40, 50 bucks, goes to the next store. It's a great little job. He didn't have to kill himself. It's easy too, So I'm not picking on these jobs, but I'm picking on the Watchtower. There's certain jobs that don't pay a lot of money, and that's a fact. But boy, if a person has a little education or they have a skill, the Watchtower wouldn't even encourage a young person, girl or boy, to get a skill. When was the last time you heard the Watchtower say, "Oh, really? Wouldn't it be nice if you could become a carpenter or a plumber?" Oh no, they want you to become a pioneer. No, they don't want you to get a skill. They don't want people. They don't want people rich, or at least making a good income. Why do they? They want people busting their butt, so they spend so much time, going to work, going to the meetings, that they have no time to even think about anything else but the Watchtower and work. That's it, period.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
I was going to say, my heart goes out to all the brothers and sisters that are really struggling. I mean, inflation has hit everybody. Now, I came from California, and when you're in California, you just sort of take it for granted that the gas is expensive and everything is expensive. Excuse me, but it wasn't until I got out here in South Carolina. When I left California, the price of gas was $5 a gallon. I get out here and it was $2.20 a gallon. I said to Rich, "Oh my God, I feel like I'm stealing the gasoline out here." But there's just so many taxes. It's like $1.50, $1.25, $1.50 a gallon for each gallon in California just for gasoline. Now it's up to $6. Menlo Park, which is right next to Stanford in Palo Alto, is $6.79, and that's just regular. That's not counting premium or diesel. And that's just, Rick, that's just gasoline. And then, of course, they want to start charging 8 to 9 cents for every gallon that you drive. The governor out there wants to do that. But California, these brothers and sisters in California have to be drowning. And I'm being really honest about this. If you're making $150,000 on up, you're doing okay. If you're making less than that, you're making $30,000 a year, forget it. There's no way you can survive in California. There's no way. Absolute. With the inflation, with all the taxes, with the rents. Oh my God. I mean, just a studio in the Bay Area is $2,000 a month. That's just a studio.
Oh yeah.
That's just a studio. That's just where your bedroom is, right in your living room. That's all it is. And I'm sure it's going up, up, up because, most people are just trying to survive in California. They really are. So Rich wants to say something.
Yeah, Rick, there are some elders that love the power that they can disfellowship somebody or reinstate somebody. But there are a lot of elders that really love the congregation and really try to do well by them. But they get burnt out. I had a house, as you know, Rick, that was right across the street from the Kingdom Hall. So when I came home from work, I would look in the parking lot and I'd see 3 elders' cars that I recognized and maybe 2 other cars. Well, there was some judicial thing going on, I'm sure. And they were always there. These brothers did not have a life, and they get burnt out. I can remember working for a remodeling company, all elders and servants, and we have a few beers every once in a while. But it don't tell you, this brother's doing this, that brother's doing this. I didn't get home from a judicial meeting till 11, 12 o'clock at night. They're burning them out. And if we didn't come up with, I think, this is way back in the 80s, right? The late 80s, 90s. I think we needed $700 to keep the lights on, to keep all of our obligations. And when the congregation didn't come up with the $700, the elders were digging really deep into their wallets. So we'll point fingers at the elders at times, but a lot of those elders are good people, burnt out, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are quitting right now. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Dick. And they are. The information I got from this man this week in this congregation, he says it's terrible. He says that they're so burnt out and they can't do it anymore, and they're falling behind on a lot of things. So that's why, friends, listen. You're wondering why the Watchtower is making changes. You're wondering why you can now go to higher education. That's the reason. Don't you think a lot of these elders are saying to the organization, I can't do it anymore, governing body members. I can't do this anymore. My family's suffering. And then even, for the Watchtower to put the burden of going to a convention in the summer. The conventions will be coming up here soon, the end of May. Now, to go to a regional convention, hotels, you don't get hotels anymore for $39 a night. Those days have gone the way of the buffalo. So you got a guy with his family. It's going to cost him if he's got to travel, say, 100 miles. I remember years ago, I used to travel sometimes 300 miles to go to a convention. They don't do that like they used to because people couldn't afford it. But even if you have to go, 50 miles or 100 miles, and you stay in a hotel, food for the family, gas for the car, forget about it. You put yourself in debt. You could spend $1,000 easy. So, when we're seeing things, that's why the Watchtower is making all these changes. Go ahead. You're on with us.
Rick?
Yeah.
Rick?
Yes.
Hi, it's JJ again.
Yes, JJ.
Hi. I thought I'd get in early tonight because it's late here in the UK. Just in line with what you guys have been talking about, my experience, because obviously I was brought up as a witness, and it certainly is true to say that most working men within the congregation were what we call over here self-employed. So they were either builders of some kind involved, but just like you've mentioned, a high proportion of them were window cleaners. We have what they call a water-fed pole system over here. So they can use their vans and literally purify the water and wash the windows. And some of the brothers made a good living out of it. But the reason for it was simply that it allowed them to decide for themselves how they were going to use their day. So the pressure was on from the congregation through the elder arrangement. A lot of these brothers were elders anyway. But, when there was the call to do pioneering for a set month or when to do a build, then these brothers would make themselves available, often at great cost to themselves, because they had to give up earning a living in order to give up their free time for theocratic activities. And you are right. A lot of what you say, Rick, is correct. I was there. I witnessed it. Certainly on the body of elders, there was a new arrangement that came in where the circuit overseer, for example, his expenses, we would always make sure through congregation funds that the circuit overseer had what he needed for the week. Well, the branch put a stop to that. They would only pay for their food and their petrol. And so the brothers had to dig into their own pockets and volunteer money. And they would donate it in a card or whatever and give it to the circuit overseer and say, thank you for your visit. But we'd have a bit of a whip round. Now, this wasn't something that the congregation necessarily knew about. If they are, and said, can I give some money to the circuit overseer? Obviously, they could, but it wasn't a requirement. But the body of elders certainly knew that there was a need, and they were often the ones that would fulfill that need by donating money. Now, coming back to your point earlier about the workload of elders, the workload of elders, as I mentioned last week, is horrendous. And the Bethel certainly are struggling to find individuals that are prepared to take on these commitments. I don't know if you know Rick, but I'm familiar with Kimmy Pimo, and he sent over some documents to you this week. And this was a form that was sent out to members of his congregation, or only the brothers. And in this form, they were to think about whether they qualified to be ministerial servants. And in it, it lists down the scriptural qualifications, and then you had to rate yourself to decide whether you needed to work on a particular aspect of the, I think I've got it here actually. So for example, what it said was that you were to self-evaluate. And so, for example, if you looked at 1 Timothy 3, it lists there some of the qualifications for a ministerial servant, that you would be serious, not double-tongued, not indulging in much wine. And what you would do is you would rate yourself against these particular qualities. Titus, for example, talks about not being arrogant or not being quick to temper. And it says in this self-evaluation, you put an A to state whether you need to work on it, or an R to say that you were reasonable in this particular quality, or E if you were exemplary. And you were to study this form, and then through prayer and self-evaluation, fill it out and give it back to your body of elders. And this was based on the circuit visit to the congregation. This was the midweek talk, which was requesting young men to reach out to take on more responsibility. And it highlighted the fact that, before you're 20, you can be a ministerial servant, as young as 18, can be an elder, and even a circuit overseer by the age of 24. Well, if you're going to do those things, you're not going to be going to university. You certainly aren't going to be sorting yourself out a career, and you're certainly not going to be earning any money. And just like it is in America at the moment, the cost of living here in the UK is astronomical. I mean, you were talking about $6 a gallon. Here in the UK, we pay £2, all right? I don't quite know what that is. I think you're 1.35, aren't you? £2. Well, we pay that per litre, all right? So a gallon would cost us around £8 to £9 now.
Wow.
And you think of these jobs that these brothers have got, they're driving jobs. If you're a window cleaner, you're driving around everywhere. And you're a builder, you're driving around everywhere, all involved. And you think also, if you're a pioneer, you're driving around everywhere. It's costing you a fortune. And it's all coming out of very little funds that you might have. So I can say absolutely my hand on my heart, from my own personal experience of being on the body of elders, living within the congregation, and even myself, my own personal experience. I was self-employed. I did exactly these things. I worked for myself. I gave up my time for theocratic activities, and there was a cost to that. And you kind of did it because you thought you were doing the right thing. But now I know that is just, it's all a load of baloney. And when you hear stories like they're buying these hotels, and you know what's going to happen. You know they're going to call in labour to turn this hotel over and make a profit. It's obvious what's going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind that they're there to see an opportunity to make money. And they've done it time and time again. They have a track record as long as they're armed. But I will say to you now that the witnesses are losing grip, because a lot of the older brothers and sisters like myself have walked, because we see it for what it is. And now they're trying to con the younger ones within the congregation to give up their lives too. And it's about time. As you say, You know, they're done, they're cooked, get them off the grill, they're finished,
Yeah.
and let's get out of it.
Well, JJ, you're right. You know, you got me thinking about the real estate too. It just popped into my head. You know, there's a show on TV about house flippers and how they buy distressed property and they paint it up and clean it up and they sell it for, you know, more money. That's the Watchtower is basically real estate flippers. They're buying distressed property, fix it up and selling it. That's what they are. Yeah, same thing. Well, JJ, always good to hear from you.
It's a real estate organization disguised as a religion.
You got it. I'm with you.
There's no doubt about it.
Well, you know, you mentioned too the pressure. They have the poor elders trying to make a living. It's being hard, not only here in America, but the UK. But I'm going to just play this now. There's just a 1 minute clip. That's all it is. But I want you to see it's an AI that we did here. And it's on, you know, staying at a hotel the Watchtower recommends. And, you know, they get people to spend more money. And who do you think gets all the reward points? Who do you think gets free rooms? They get a lot of amenities from these hotels for putting them on the list to stay at when people go to convention. But just listen in. I want you just, there's a 1 minute clip. That's all it is.
Jehovah's Witnesses believe their organization to be financially modest. The Watchtower Society is a multi-billion-dollar business empire, cleverly masquerading as a humble Christian religion. One such means of financial gain is the annual district convention, a pseudo-spiritual event, which is nothing more than a colossal fundraiser and scam. The distance of convention centers often necessitates overnight lodging for attending members, and they are given strict orders to stay in the hotels on the lodging list given by their leaders. For decades, the Watchtower Society has ludicrously insinuated that violating its lodging rules brings reproach upon Jehovah God. This is the devious tactic they use to conceal their underhanded intentions. By restricting members to approved hotels, the organization concentrates thousands of bookings into select properties, giving them negotiating power, perks like tax-free rebates, and financial advantages available only to Watchtower leaders and not their loyal followers.
Yeah, well, that's an AI that my daughter put together for us from the 6 screens. Oh, but let's stop it right there. So anyways, I wanted to show that. And the reason why I wanted to show it is you can get a less expensive hotel going to a convention than going through the Watchtower selected list. And, you know, a lot of people today, if you have a credit card, like from Hilton or maybe like Ramada Inn credit card, you can, you know, you get perks with that. You get rewards. You stay at Ramada Inn, you might get a free room, or you might get, after you stay a number of nights, they might give you an extra $50. Well, who do you think gets that money? Who do you think gets that money? You turn your rewards over to the Watchtower too. Geez, the poor witnesses are being squeezed. They're being crushed financially. And then you got to stay at their hotels. It's too much. Well, you're on JW World News. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Dan. Yeah, I was going to tell you, I've noticed, I watched a little thing today. I mentioned it to you, a little convention or something they had going. And I think one of the main things they use to get money out of the brothers is flattery. And I was noticing that, you know, when they have these, you know, these tornadoes and these rescue missions, they do, that the society don't pay to have people go down there. It's like our fine brothers. And I just want to say this, the word they're using now is brotherhood. And that is so Masonic. It's we're the brotherhood. We take care of the brothers in the brotherhood. And I'm like, holy cow, my uncle was saying that to me last night. You know, we're the brotherhood. He's been in there, I don't know, 56 years. He's been a pioneer for 40 years. And he kept saying brotherhood. And I said, why are you saying brotherhood? And he said, well, Danny, you know, we're a brotherhood. But how they operate, Rick, is 100% flattery. And they said, our dear brothers during the hurricane in Georgia, our brothers bought 30 brand new generators. What in the F? Our brothers, the society, the $1 million, $1 billion organization who buys land and flips, buildings and, couldn't provide some generators, and they only worked on the house. Maybe there was a house they saw and they lifted a tree limb off, but it was the brotherhood. Our dear sister cried when the brothers showed up at her door. Yeah, and the brothers took it out of their own pocket. And they were talking about California. I was just in California. The gas is $6.99 a gallon for regular. And I talked to several people that are working there. Some of them are making over $300,000 and they can't make it. And they said because their taxes are so high. So I asked the guy, so what do you pay for taxes? And he says, almost $80,000. And I said, how do you make money? And he says, I work for cash. And I asked another guy, how do you make money? He says, cash. I said, you're running a construction company on cash? And so I don't know that they're gonna get these brothers to do anything. But Rick, flattery is powerful. If you look up the definition of flattery, it's to control people. And so, man, they get these accolades. You get an accolade if you're a pioneer, and you get a speech at an assembly, and you get it's accolades. And I saw the same thing. I said, I'm going in the Mormon church this week. I said, I'm going in there. I'm seeing what the hell this is all about. And I accidentally walked in the wrong meeting. I walked in the meeting with the priest, and they were young. And I'm like, okay, this is the priesthood. And they're all dressed up to the nines, very arrogant, very cocky, very much, we're the truth, and I was like, what the hell? And I saw the same theme. I said, this is flattery shit. They call the people that are 18, 17, 15, these people on their missions, they give them elder badges. But I mean, my God, how status is that to say you're the priest? And anyway, we got into it a little bit in there, and I was talking about transformation and this and that. And the guy says, oh, that's excellent. And then he walked up to my face. He stood up, and he was like an elder. He kept looking back at me like, who's this guy in jeans and a T-shirt in our priest meeting? And he jumped up, and all of a sudden, he put on this narcissistic, crazy, psychopathic personality, and he started weaving them into the dogma of Mormonism. And he was, this is covenants, and this is doctrine. Now, what's the covenant? And what's it? And I'm going, whoa, 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 whoa. And anyway, I spoke up, and he walked up to my face, up to my, not quite to my nose, and he put his finger out, and he goes, there is no transformation in this life. What you're talking about, Christ or the Spirit of God dwelling in your temple is not for this life. When I mentioned George Bush, when I mentioned Barack Obama, when I mentioned Black Lives Matter, and all this stuff, he goes, you were jerked, weren't you? No, not at all, not in the least. Don't even look at it, don't care. There's no me, no them. They are me. And what happened was 3 guys said, I like what you said. I really like what you said. 3 guys said it. The guy hung his head up. He didn't shake hands with me when I walked out. And one guy told me, you're invited back anytime you want. Loved what you said. And we had this conversation, but here's the thing, Rick. The young people don't want this shit anymore. They don't want this separation. They don't want them and us. And this guy had the courage next to me. He says, let me tell you something. I just got back from a missionary tour. And he says, I'm telling you, if you're a good man and you take care of your family, he goes, I don't give a shit what your religion are. He said, you're my brother. And I said, whoa, whoa. Well, you know something? I got to tell you something, Rick. Those elders today, the elder I talked to last night for 3 hours is totally out of touch with the governing body. And all he did was attack me when I pointed out things that everybody in there should know. It's like they're not watching the Faithful Slave. They're not watching JW.org. We know more about what's going on in the organization, Rick, by watching your show than they know about what's going on in the org. So I mentioned to him about blood. I said, what do you think about the blood? Oh, can I keep talking or am I?
No, go ahead. Yeah. In fact, those that are unmuted, just stay, just keep your hand over your phone as Dan's talking. When Dan's done, we'll get you on. Go ahead.
Finish up here quick. But I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think, Neil, about the blood? We serve Jehovah, Danny, and we read our Bible. You didn't answer my question. What do you think about the blood? You're an apostate. Why are you calling me apostate? Why are you calling me the dirtiest name you can find? Why are you digging in the rubble to come after me? I said, that is not scriptural, Neil. And he says, well, what do you mean? I said, that's not scriptural. Did they call Paul an apostate? Did they call the guy in the stake next to Jesus apostate? Did they call the guy that was piercing Jesus? What did they do to deserve to be promised life? What did they? I said, even your own scriptures said that God desires no one to die, but all to attain repentance, meaning turn around. So why would you call me the lowest name? And then anyway, we got through that scuffle. And then Rick, I had to say this. I said, what do you think about Christmas? You guys coming on board with Christmas? I said, no, I know you're not going to come on Christmas as a pagan holiday. But I said, I just happened to see one of your videos on the 6 screen. And I said, Rick was playing it the other night. And I said, and it showed this lady walking through the snow and, delivering these packages and people opening what you think were maybe Christmas cards, and then ends up in a kind of a country club with Christmas balls. I said, what the hell would you, and I said, and he goes, we follow the Bible, Danny. And I go, oh, shit. I said, no discernment whatsoever, no thinking ability. And so I'm just like, whatever, anyway, he told me about this special meeting they were having today, only one of a kind. And I said, yeah, I'll go to it. But all it was a bunch of trying to pump everybody up. We got everything going on. We're building. We're doing this. And, they got money to do it. They got a lot of money. They can invest. They can fix and flip. They can do whatever the hell they want. And, so anyway, it was an interesting conversation. But all he wanted to do when I asked him to think just a tiny bit, just to have a little discernment. And then I did this. Let me say the last thing. I asked him about the Kingdom Hall. And he goes, what is your problem with the Kingdom Hall? And I just said what I've always said in the show. I said, you guys sell them to churches. And he listened. And I said, you built it. You dedicated it to Jehovah. We sat on the damn empty floor. We sat there and said, thank you, Jehovah, for our hands. Thank you for the women that worked all night on this place. And then you further people on the grate. I said, you gave it to a church and said, here you go. Hit the ground running. What do you think about that? We follow the Bible, Danny. I said, okay, we're done here. But we had a talk, and it just went that way. And isn't that so strange, guys? Isn't that weird, Rick? Isn't that strange?
Well, yeah, it is, and you can't get to first base with them. But I want to thank you and Angela for giving me the information I needed to get on that call today. We're going to talk a little bit about that next, in fact. And thank you, though, for sending that to me. It was quite fascinating.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, Rick.
Yeah.
It was kind of a little bit of a setup. I'll say 2 things. One, my uncle told me that they were going to introduce, that they're coming out with a new Bible. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, and you may already know this, I don't know this, I'm out of touch, but did you know, Rick, that there was a baptism for the elders that are different from the baptism of the publishers, that they're baptized into the brothers of Jesus, the anointed, and the regular brothers are not?
No way.
Yes. It's in the Watchtower. They read the Watchtower. I didn't know if Rick knew that. Did you hear that, Rick?
A little bit about that, but I didn't get all the information on it. But yeah, a little bit about that. But thank you for bringing me up to speed on it. Yeah, I got it now. But thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Dan, it's good to hear from you.
You too, Jeff. You good too, guys. Good to hear from all you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Keep it going.
Thank you.
Okay,
Rick, briefly, Rick.
Hold on, King and Dots. We have someone. King and Dots. We have someone. We have someone before you.
Money's going.
Hold on.
That money's going to the Watchtower.
All right, no, listen, let's not speak out. Hey, listen, Jeff, listen, we got a lot of people who want to speak up, so we have to go in turns here.
Rick and Steve.
I'm even Steve, before I've been bringing you on, I got another person I got to bring on. It's been waiting for a while. 330, you're on with us. Go ahead.
All that money is going to the Watchtower, and I don't think it's going to New York. I think it's going to PA. What do you think?
I'm not sure where it's going, but it's going in somebody's pockets and high up somewhere. Okay, go ahead. We got King of Dots. You're on with us.
I'm always brief, as you know. Now, I had a friend, John Tassinger, back in the early 90s. He had to do, what do you call it, where you sit down, you have your blood purified because he had dialysis. I actually have one of my wife's relatives right now has been on dialysis 25 years. It's a modern miracle, quite frankly. But again, Watchtower allowed dialysis, which at one time was not permitted because the blood leaves the body and comes back in. Now, this new thing that Watchtower is doing, you can take your own blood out and store it. This is literally a sleight of hand. They've always pretty much allowed that with dialysis. And for them to sit back and say, look at what we've done, it's actually a farce. It's an insult to my intelligence, quite frankly. That's all I had to say, Rick.
Well, that gives a little more insight onto it all. I did hear about that. And when you do have, when you get on a dialysis machine, you're right, there's blood involved with that. But you see, this is where the Watchtower is really going to have a lot of trouble in the future. How do they explain that to a court? How would they do that? See, this is what they're going to have a real problem with. Going back and picking up crumbs on the trail, it's not going to work for the Watchtower. It really won't. Thank you, King of Dots. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. Well, anyways, let's get into this. They had a zone meeting today. This was supposed to be the big thing of the year. If you get on Reddit and some of these forums online where Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses talk, and some of the things you're hearing from their PMO relatives and friends, they had a big branch meeting today, and all the Jehovah's Witnesses in the branch of USA, America, were invited to go to the meeting today, and half of them are going to go today, and evidently half are going to go tomorrow. So it was on Zoom, and my wife Susan and I, we watched it. Susan took notes on it, and I was waiting because everyone was saying there's going to be some really big announcement, and they always do that, right? But I didn't want to say a thing about it because I didn't want to get caught in the rumor mill. But I heard about this even last week, made a little comment about it. But, it's always a nothing burger. And, even this one was, but I picked out a few things that really struck my fancy, and I'll let you know what it would be. But the speaker started off by expressing joy at being with the audience to praise Jehovah and examine the progress of the kingdom work. See, the Watchtower has to keep telling you they're progressing, and they have to do that. A cult only survives by recruiting new people. Cults always have more going out the back door than coming in the front door. So this brother, Jehovah's Witness brother, he highlights the privilege of helping others come to know Jehovah and the excitement of seeing the work advancing worldwide. Well, is the work really advancing worldwide? Well, we'll go through some of this, but he was giving reports on, the size of the branch in the United States. He was giving reports on the amount of people being baptized. We'll get into that in a little bit, but they were really they started off just trying to let you know that we are moving forward. Jehovah's organization is on the move. We don't see that. As a man that has been studying the Watchtower, from the other side of the tracks here for 20 years, I do not see tremendous growth. I see propaganda. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna put the burden of proof on myself to prove it. If you're gonna come out and make a statement, then you got to come up with a burden of proof. I'll give you that. All right. But in the United States, they're saying that the branch is enormous. Well, the branch in the United States is big. It takes in the 48 contiguous states, plus by contiguous, what that means is from the East Coast to the West Coast. And if you want to bring in Alaska, they'd have to add Alaska and Hawaii to that amount. So you have a number of islands as well. And they're servicing approximately 25 different countries. So the United States, see what they did now, they didn't tell you this, but a few years ago, they merged it. At one time, the branch office in the United States only was, United States, Hawaii, and Alaska. Now, this is probably going back 8-10 years ago. So then what they did is they brought a bunch of these places in that they wanted to add more numbers to the branch so that they could say, look, we are growing. So they added 25 well, 24 more different countries to it. So, obviously it's going to inflate the number, right? So that's one way they did it. And so he was saying, the brother was saying that there's thousands of kingdom halls in the branch of the United States, and there's Bethel homes and offices and translation facilities. Well, there is all that. There is all that, but here's what, look at, you got to read between the lines. You got to look below the surface. So he says in 2001, there were 191 regional conventions. Well, let's roll the clocks back. Let's roll the clocks back to 2001. In 2001, where were they having these conventions? They were having them in large arenas, like the Coliseum, like Qualcomm Center out in California, like maybe not Yankee Stadium, but bigger stadiums, Veteran Stadium, Pennsylvania. And so they, just back in 2001, approximately, it'll be about 15 years ago, right? So about a little more than that, 17, 18 years ago. Well, what you have here is larger arenas. So this man is so willing in his talk today. He says in 2001, there were 191 regional conventions. And then in his next breath, he says, today, there are more than 600 with attendance continuing to increase. Oh, stop right there. Look, we talked about it last summer. We'll talk about it this summer. They are having, friends, they're actually having some regional conventions in larger kingdom halls, assembly halls, rented school auditoriums. So these are not arenas. So he's not lying when he said there's 600 facilities, 600 conventions, and there's only 191 back in 2001. Well, I mean, we're talking apples and oranges here. Why does he talk about the attendance rather than talk about the amount of conventions? Talk about the attendance. It's because the attendance dropped. They used to get 50. I remember going to Veteran Stadium 20 years ago, and they were getting 50,000 people in a stadium. They're lucky now in an assembly hall they get 1,500 people showing up for a convention. So it's really not the whole truth, but it's part the truth, right? So this growth, he says, is presenting clear proof of Jehovah's blessing. Well, you can read through that, right? You got to look below the surface. Now let's go into disasters. So he talks about, first of all, they talk about how the whole world of Jehovah's Witnesses is on the move, growing like crazy, enormously. And then the next talk they have is concerning disasters and how disasters around the world are increasing, not only in number and severity. Well, I kind of believe that with the way weather is, so I'll go along with that. But then he goes on to say the organization forms relief committees and organizes thousands of volunteers. Well, of course they do. They claim 1 million people in this branch and 9 million worldwide. So yes, there's people that they can organize and become volunteers. I mean, people are used to being volunteers for the Watchtower, right? Whatever Watchtower tells you to do, you do it. So they're volunteers. So now this is, but you got to listen closely. You got to look below the surface here. So then the man, I'm going to say brother, I'll speak in that vernacular, so stay on the same page here. So the man says the organization forms relief committees. Okay, I just read that. And then he says the brothers show unparalleled selfish love, unparalleled love for these brothers in Jamaica. In this particular case, they were talking about what happened in 2025 in Jamaica, Hurricane Melissa, and it really, really did a job on Haiti and Jamaica. So he was talking about disaster relief. So he said, for example, after a major hurricane in Jamaica, a request for 60 generators was sent to the congregation, and within 24 hours, the brothers donated 130 new generators. Well, I'm not going to knock it. I think it's nice they did that. In fact, I know it's nice they did that. It's a nice gesture. But who do you think got the generators? You know, they don't really say here that, you know, we all the poor people in Jamaica, their churches were destroyed. They had no food. They had no electricity. The ones who got the generators were, first of all, I'm sure they went to the mucky muck Jehovah's Witnesses in Jamaica. Maybe there's not that many there, but they went to the people at the top of the organization first, and then it went to people, but it wasn't given at random. I mean, I don't know that for 100%, but I just know that's not how it's done in the Watchtower. They're only going to help their own people. But then it goes on. So let me read this to you. Volunteers from the U.S. are traveling to Jamaica on 4-week assignments. All right, so that's good. I mean, I'm not. How are you going to pick on that? You can't pick you can't pick on people that are trying to help people. I'm picking on the Watchtower here. They're the ones taking all the credit, and the witnesses are doing all the work. But anyways, the speaker. This is when I heard this. This really rattled my cage, as I would say. The speaker asked, "In what other organization can you find this kind of love?" And what kind of what? So, in other words, he's saying that Jehovah's Witnesses, there's no other organization that matches the disaster relief love that Jehovah's Witnesses do. Well, I have to disagree with him, and AI disagrees with him. And I wish the witnesses would start using AI more often, because then they could get the real truth behind the truth. Let me just bring up, he's saying there's no other organization that does what they do. Well, let's just take a look at, how about Samaritan's Purse? Have you heard of that? Well, that's Billy Graham's son. That's Franklin Graham. And we have a man that has a program here on the 6 screens on Sunday. He worked. I think he might still work. I'm not sure, for Samaritan's Purse. Now, Samaritan's Purse is a real disaster relief organization. So it's not like the Watchtower. It's a real disaster. They give their help to everybody, not just, Jehovah's Witnesses or a certain Christian group. They give it to everybody who needs it. So Samaritan's Purse responded to Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica by airlifting and distributing essential life-saving aid, including generators, solar lights, water filters, and shelter kits. Now, I want to show you a picture of the aircraft here. Let me get back into my. Okay, I'm going to bring this. I want you to see. I want you to see this up front and close. I want you to see Samaritan's Purse. This is look at this. You can see it right there. That's an airplane. That's a big cargo airplane. Look at the supplies. Look at food, water, generators, all the stuff that these poor people in Jamaica need. They're sending airplanes in there, big cargo planes, really helping the people. And, the Watchtower is saying that the only ones that really show love. What other organization shows the love that Jehovah's Witnesses show? Well, there it is. There's proof. How about giving the Samaritan's Purse some credit? Now, how about here? Take a look over here. You know what that is right there? That is a field hospital. That is a hospital. It's tents. You can see it. But I believe I forget how many beds they had there, but they actually went over there, Samaritan's Purse, and they put these tents up, and they brought doctors and nurses and medicine, and they really helped the poor people that were hurting and even got hurt by the hurricane, and old people and who needed medicine and couldn't get it. Now, that is a real act of love. But the Watchtowers, no, we're the only ones. We're the only ones that show love. I mean, if the witnesses could just see this, it really is terrible what they say. I mean, let your actions speak louder than your words, Watchtower. Don't go condemning everybody else and you're the best in the world when you're really not. Now, I'm not condemning the fact that you're helping her a little bit, but it'd be nice if you helped others more than just, your own people. That would really be good. Now, those airlifts, that picture of that airplane, well, North Carolina is the home. That's the headquarters of Samaritan's Purse. And these were DCH, these are big airplanes. And they were delivering thousands of pounds of supplies, including generators, as I said. Now, the Watchtower, that's all they said they did was send generators. And then, as Dan was even saying earlier, it was more than likely, paid for by the local congregations. And then these field hospitals, oh, there it is right there, 50 beds. 50 beds. Now, that's pretty remarkable for some tents in a field to be able to take care of these people. So, friends, when I think of disaster relief, I think of Red Cross. I think of Samaritan's Purse. I think of other Christian organizations, but there's no way that I think of disaster relief as a Jehovah's Witnesses claim to be the best in the world at it. Now, come on, this is just, yes.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, I've visited a lot of churches over the years, and I was blown away at the food pantries. Even the Mormons here have a food pantry it looks like it's as big as Walmart. Forklifts, trucks, docks. I was like, oh my God. Then I went to this other place and they're like, oh, that's a community garden. And I said, man, that's huge. Who's that for? They go, anybody. And I go, what's this thing here? And they go, oh, this is the doctors. Who's this for? Anybody? Dentists? Anybody? I'm going, my God. And they had a food pantry and they had a clothes pantry. That's almost a staple in most churches that are a little conscious. That says we got to do something for the community. In fact, that's what churches were in the old days. They were to serve the community, serve the people in need. The people who had went to the churches, dropped off. The people that didn't have went to the church and they got what they need. And so they're so out of touch. I'm not, like you said, Rick, they're doing some good, but they're so out of touch compared to what's going on and even the smallest churches around town.
Well, there you go, Dan. Well, thank you for that comment. And as I really heard that statement from that brother giving the talk that we're the most loving organization on the planet, basically, when it comes to disaster relief, that's a bunch of baloney. Because then
They isolate their people. That's how the people are so isolated from information. Because Doctors Without Borders notes how they have physicians that go into these war zones and they only charge a 28% for administrative. We don't know what the percentage of workers per administrative cost is for the Watchtower. We have no financial oversight on them, never have.
You got it, Pixie. And, it's not just Samaritan's Purse. Other churches, missionary groups, NGOs, it mentions also in this information I got from AI, a number of ministries here, the Baptist ministries, they were providing generators. So it just wasn't Watchtower providing generators, but we get it. I hope you guys get it. And it's not that the Watchtower doesn't do anything. I'm sure they help their own people, but there's other groups too. Watchtower is not the only one, and they're certainly not. I wouldn't rate them as superior when it comes to disaster relief. All right, now the brother, I say it in their vernacular. He's not my brother, but I'll say it so you know what I'm talking about. The brother that gave the talk day on this so-called special branch day meeting, he was saying that 1 in every 5 people is a regular pioneer. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I mean, that Susan took some notes from me, but I can't. 1 in 5 regular pioneer. That's crazy. That wasn't when I was a witness. 1 in 5. So I think that. So now here's another piece that you got to look below the surface. So 1 in 5 is a regular pioneer. Now, okay, the hours have been dropped. You know that you can be a pioneer? I guess evidently from what I've been told, here at the 6 screens, you can be a pioneer if you're putting like 5 hours a month in. So they don't tell you that. Now, when I was in 20 years ago, a pioneer had to get 90 hours a month in. I mean, that's a big difference. Today, you can pioneer everything for 5 hours. So you're going to get way more. So, I mean, you could have been a pioneer, right? Most people listening to this program got 5 hours a month in. So you could have been a pioneer. So a statement like, we are growing leaps and bounds, 1 in every 5 is a regular pioneer. Well, wait a minute. I mean, can you see through this? Evidently, the witnesses can't. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, so Rick, it's 50 hours. 50 hours, not 5 hours. 50 hours.
It's 50 hours right now to be a pioneer?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you. I'm not going to disagree with you, Nicole. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's 50 hours. I still talk to regular pioneers, and they're trying to get me to, do my auxiliary pioneering and then eventually become a regular pioneer again. It's 50 hours.
All right. Well,
it used to be 90, then 70. Now they drop it down to 50.
And for auxiliary pioneers, they only have to put in 30. But if the
30 hours.
But if the circuit overseer comes, they can pioneer with only 15.
Yes, that's right.
And some of the people who are regular auxiliary pioneers, they do 30 a month, but when the circuit overseer comes, they put in only 15.
well, let's just slow down 1 second now. Now, Nicole, you still go to the Kingdom Hall, okay? That you still go to.
I don't. No, I don't. I haven't been to the hall in about 2.5 years.
So how do you know it's 50 hours to be a pioneer? Because that's not the figures I'm getting.
Because I'm not disassociated, I'm not disassociated. My friends and they think that I take meetings on Zoom, so they talk to me all the time. So it's 50 hours. My spouse is still a witness, and he, still goes to the meeting, whether it's on Zoom or in person. So yeah, it's 50 hours. That's how I know.
All right.
Somebody spoke to PME. PME said the same thing, so that's pretty good.
And I get the Kingdom Life and Ministry. I get the Kingdom Life and Ministry. And for persons who have the JW.org app, you can go on to the JW.org app and you can see it is 50 hours a month for pioneers, regular pioneers.
All right. Well, somebody listening to the program right now, type into AI. Zach, you in front of a computer? If someone listening to this program right now, punch into AI, how many hours in 2026 does a Jehovah's Witness have to be a pioneer? Just do that.
Hey, Rick,
Yes.
while they're doing that, I wondered if you noticed when you were watching it. I was watching it too. Did you notice how many talks there were on how tired they all are?
Oh, yeah.
It's like one elder got up there after another talking about exhaustion. I know you're tired. We didn't expect to be here. That old guy, the last guy, but I was like, man, think about this, Rick. When you're doing something good for somebody, when you go over and help your neighbors, say you got a senior next door and you mow their lawn, and they go, oh, thank you. You get exhilarated. You don't need a crutch. You don't need a wheelchair. You don't need to be pumped up by scripture and be told, well, Jehovah says you're a good guy because you did that. Now hang in there. Keep going, brothers. It's like they're pushing these seniors as hard as they can push them to go door to door, and it's never enough. But you heard it too, didn't you, Rick? That the amount of talks that were on hang in there. I know you're tired. I know you're wore out. I know you can't, go on. Jehovah knows how bad it is. Did you get that too?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah. In fact, that's the very thing I was thinking. Yeah, the very thing I was thinking. Same thing, Dan. Yeah.
This is obviously wrong. This is saying 1,000 hours. This is the old stuff. I put 2026 in, and it's saying 1,000 hours. and it's saying prorated if you start after that. It says it's about 90 hours per month. So I obviously have outdated AI.
Yeah, so that's why it's right. But now, yeah, before I move on to that, hold on, Matt, Maverick. Yeah, so it's getting conflicting reports here. But if Nicole, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I think they're right. I think it is 50 hours. I was talking to a circuit officer back in 18, and he said they were thinking of dropping the hours to, I think he said 55. He said 55, 50-ish within there. He said, I think they're dropping the hours. So maybe you want to consider getting on the list because you could be on. And if you're in firm, you could just about do what you want to do. And you just set the title. But he did say, that was back in 18, that he said they were thinking about dropping it to 55, 50-ish. That's what he told me. He said a set number hasn't come in yet. So I think they are right. I think it is.
All right, yeah, fine. We're getting conflicting reports here coming in through AI.
Well,
Yeah.
The last I've heard, talking to a Pini about a month ago, was 50 hours for regular Pioneer, 30 for auxiliary Pioneer, and auxiliary Pioneer can be 15 when the circuit overseer is visiting the congregation. And that's the last thing I've read, too.
All right.
You're correct, Zach. I just got ChatGPT in front of me, and I asked that question. It says 50 hours per month for regular Pioneers, auxiliary 30, and special campaigns like memorial season can be 15 hours for special Pioneers. So you're
for auxiliary Pioneers.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Mine said 15 to 30. Mine said 15 to 30 and 50 for some other thing, but it said it can vary between 15 and 30, which I do think they have a scale in there. But anyway.
But you're confusing it. What Maverick just said, 50 for regular Pioneer, 30 for auxiliary Pioneer. And if there's a special campaign, the auxiliary Pioneers, people can auxiliary Pioneer with only 15 hours. So it's 50 for regular and 30 for auxiliary. And they have that special arrangement for 15 hours for auxiliary only.
All right. Now the next question, of course, that brother that gave that zone talk today, he said that 1 out of 5 people in the United States branch is a pioneer. Now, can that be with these people?
Yes,
I believe
yes,
it can. I believe it could.
It can.
If they have half the congregation on the infirmary, and they can do anything they want, they're just holding the title.
Well, I mean, I was a witness for 50 years, and back then I was 90 hours a month. But I can't see that one that yep.
I have to
When I left the organization, when they brought out that hourly change for pioneers, the pioneers outnumbered the number of publishers in quite a few congregations in Toronto. And then eventually, they stopped pioneering. Even in my congregation, we had 23 regular pioneers, and our published account was 90.
Wow. Well, I believe in Nicole, but I'm just thinking, I'm scratching my head here. That's with the way the economy is, and the way that the changes in the Watchtower and people doubting the policies. We got 1 in 5 people are pioneers. That is just
Can you call it pioneering? Really? Can you really call it pioneering? I mean, think about it. Take your cart and go sit in the park. I go out there, they don't even look at you. And that's what I told my uncle the other day. I've been out in the park. I don't know why you're making a new Bible. You don't use it. You guys all have tablets. I was at your last assembly. It looked like everybody was holding a lamp. And I'm like, why are you making a new Bible? You're just rewriting dogma. But I told him, I said, I go to the park. Nobody makes ice or drinking coffee. The last time I talked to some guy, he says, hey, dude, go over and have a beer. Brother told me that. And I wanted to talk to him. They didn't want to talk to me. JW.org. So I would agree, Rick. It's a possibility. It'd be the easiest job in the world. Go sit in the park and put a cart in front of you. Have a seat.
But Dan, I think I get right. I think I got the answer. I think I got the answer here. Why there's such a gap between numbers here? Of course, they went to the check box ministry. So I think the Watchtower might be even playing games here. I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, don't take it to the bank and cash it, as I say. So what I'm thinking is that's the requirement. You have to get 50 hours a month in to be a pioneer. But they know they can just check box the ministry. They can just, well, I'll just put it in there. I'll just say I got the time, and there's no questions asked. Nobody's really keeping tabs anymore. So, the Watchtower probably keeps it at that number, but a lot of those people are not getting 50 hours a month in. I'll guarantee you that. Not one out of.
I think they have to write down the number of hours they spend if they are regular, if they are pioneering. So they do have to put the hours. They don't just check the box. Check the boxes for publishers.
Well, it's like Dan was just saying, maybe with the carts, and maybe as other witnesses observe how the cart witnessing people. I mean, I suppose I could be a pioneer with a cart. You're not hoofing it. You're not going do it like a maniac. You're just sitting there waiting for someone to come by. So maybe that's one way they're doing it. But that seems like a 1 in 5. But I'll tell you what, I guess I might have to go with that. Yes.
I agree with you, Rick. I don't believe it's 1 in 5. I can't see that, because you might run into a congregation where they've got, everybody got out there and did it, but across the board, I couldn't see that. One time Japan had 25% pioneering, and then they kind of went to sleep on that. They stopped, that kind of dropped. I can't believe it's 20% of the people are pioneering.
Well, they're also
They have publishers and pioneers, but personally, I am such a free person that I could give a decorative hot pink winged F about pioneers.
Maybe they're cheating.
Well,
because years ago when it was 90 hours, I think you have to get a 1,000 DB per year, but it was a secret. If you made 750 or 780, you could still stay on the list. And only a selective few knew about the secret or the loophole they had. It was a loophole. So if you made half or whatever, you could still be retained on the list. They may just give you some counsel, but you could still be retained on the list. And I think only a few of the elders' wives knew that. But maybe they have something like that you could just need 25 hours and be retained on the pioneer list.
Well, I know they have the. Well, go ahead, Dan.
I can tell you they're very lavish in their breaks. I've got a picture. I wouldn't be able to send it, but I took a picture of a coffee shop, and there were witnesses all over it, and they were eating. They brought bag lunches, and some of them didn't even order a coffee. And I'm looking around, and there's a bunch of witnesses here, and they had a cart outside. They were all rotating. They were going out, standing by the cart, coming in. I went to try to talk to them, and they just kept saying jw.org. I'm like, no, I want to talk to you. I just want to answer jw.org will answer. I was like, okay, you guys don't preach anymore. Anyway, I went in the coffee shop the other day, and there's a sign on the table. It doesn't say witnesses, stay the hell out, but it says if you come in, don't bring your lunch and buy a coffee. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God, I remember when they put that up when we used to go to the coffee shop, because we'd sit in them, we'd go out and get our hour in real quick and then go to the coffee shop and sit there 2 hours. But they put a thing saying no Jehovah's Witnesses on the door. And you could say it's discriminatory, but they said, we will not have you come in here and take up all of our tables. Rick, they put 2 tables together. They got their laptops out, their Watchtowers and Bibles. And I asked them one time, I said, why you guys got your Bible out? You don't use them, because they all had the laptops. And the lady got all pissed off. But it was like they were showing everybody that they were having a study. But I'm like, guys, you're taking up this whole little coffee shop. It was a Flying M coffee shop, state of the art. And there's witnesses over here with bag lunches and soups. And you know what I mean? And witnesses over here having a Bible study, and they put these signs all over and they got them out, thank God. Anyway, they lavish in the breaks. I can tell you, it seems like an easy job now,
Yeah, well, Dan, even that branch meeting today, when he was talking about 1 in 5 regular pioneers, he also went on to say, he said, and this is very impressive, because evidently that number also includes older ones. Now, this is why I have a hard time digesting this information, So he's saying that's impressive, especially impressive. 1 in 5 pioneering and impressive among older ones. One sister began pioneering at age 93. Over 66 regular pioneers are over 100 years old. Now, can you believe how can a 100-year-old person go out and get pioneer hours in? That's what I'm. Yeah,
Hey, RJ here.
yeah.
No, I had a very elderly member of my family, and we looked it up. You got about 1 out of 5,000 people are 100 years old and over.
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking, RJ, I'm trying to wrap my head around this idea of 1 in 5 people in the congregation of pioneers, but I think I'm starting to get it. I think it's starting to sink in. So what you have,
Like if you live in a town of 20,000 people, 4 people are going to be 100 or above.
right? But I'm thinking that
It's very rare.
right. Well, I'm not talking, RJ. I'm not talking about the rarity. I'm talking about 100-year-old person putting 50 hours a month in. Does that make?
Well, at 100 years old, they're probably in a nursing home. They're probably in a nursing home with assisted care living by that point.
Someone earlier mentioned something that kind of.
Surprised how some people are at 100.
Some of them may have been pioneering before they were 100 for some years. Someone earlier mentioned infirmed pioneers, and that's where a person in the olden days, I think an hour, they stayed on the list. In the olden days, they were called veteran pioneers, and then they changed it to calling them infirmed pioneers. They were usually people who had pioneered for years and years, and they no longer had to make the hourly requirement. So that might be what a lot of those over 100-year-old or over 200 years old people are doing.
Well, Zach, I think you just hit the bullseye, and that's what they got here, because the brothers said that that figure 1 in every 5 regular pioneers is also among older people, and these older ones are on an infirm list. So I remember there was one sister in our hall that was trying to get on the infirm list, and I mean the amount of hours you had to put in was like minimal. 2, 3, 4 hours a month was it. So most of these pioneers, if they're included in this 1 in 5, which his brother said today at the branch talk, so a lot of older Jehovah's Witnesses are pioneering. They're on the infirm list and probably getting 5 hours a month in to qualify. So that might be where this, yeah. Oh, all right.
I never heard of the infirmary. I never heard of it. I never heard that there was an infirmity. But like my uncle said, Rick,
infirmed pioneer, infirmed list.
Yeah. Interesting. It's like my uncle said, Rick.
It used to be veteran pioneer.
Oh, never
I've got a theory. I've got a theory, everybody. They're applying the day for a year principle. A day for a year, a day for a year. So they'll just do 1 day and they'll count it as a whole year's pioneering.
What I was going to say, Rick, is
that was good.
I don't like to paint every like witness I remember in the same brush, but there was like a certain like category of witness that was kind of your burn bright witness. There was kind of somebody who got into it and they went all in, but they usually didn't last that long. Like I remember there was like a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid, and he got really into pioneering and all that. And I don't even think he was a witness by age 22. They burned him out.
Well, Jay, you can get burnt out pretty easily, but that's now I'm coming to grips with this. The 100-year-old people pioneering. I'm starting to get it now because.
You know what my uncle would say, Rick? We read our Bible.
Yeah, that would be his answer.
That's what he'd say. We read our Bible, Danny. Okay.
Yeah, that's enough.
My mom didn't want to sit out there all day, but the sister wanted her to, and she said she didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I could see where if they have such lavish lunches, I could see where a 70-year-old pioneer could be a pioneer partner of a 100-year-old gent, and then take it real slow and have a half a day lunch, and might be social.
Yeah, walking around with walkers to do.
When you said 106, when I pictured it, I almost passed out. I said I couldn't put that number together in my head. When you were saying it, I didn't think about it. Then all of a sudden, a picture hit me of a 106-year-old person, and I was like, "What did you say, Rick? Up here, full-time pioneer?" It blew my mind.
Well, I'll tell you, no, that talk I listened to today, and I want to thank my wife for taking the notes. Now they're really bragging about prison witnessing. Now, that's something I don't think I'd brag about. I really wouldn't. So what they got, they said prison witnessing. There is now 2,852 Bible studies in 2,200 prisons in the branch office in America. In one state, 14.
Terrible, but I guess they need something to do.
It's something, but it says in one state, 14 prisons aired the live regional convention broadcast to 200 prisoners. Well, I think the reason why that regional convention was broadcast to prisoners, I think it was for capital punishment. Really, I mean, when you stop and think about it, who would want to brag about bringing? Who would want to brag about bringing prisoners in? I mean, these people, they have.
Oh, that's over the top.
But can't play at the door.
From the point of view of the prisoners, though, they get to see this convention on a big screen. They get to get out of their cell.
You should tell all the prisoners what? You want to get out of jail and go right back in prison again?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Well, we got a lot of people. Boy, we got a lot of people coming into the Six Queens tonight. Who would like to speak up? Who hasn't spoke up? Go ahead. You run with us. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Steve.
Yeah.
To go back a few subjects ago, when a lot of former witnesses, they'll talk to current witnesses, and they'll, whether they write them an email, face to face, text message, however they communicate with them, but and then even the former witnesses seem to get a little bent out of shape when someone doesn't agree with them. But if you understand what you're dealing with years of mind control. And if you understand mind control, you're not going to undo that with one conversation or email. So, if you think about it, go to any other religion and try to talk to them for an hour and undo what they may have been raised in, their culture, or whatever. You're not going to undo it. And if you understand how mind control works and how deeply rooted that is, don't be disappointed, because I can tell you, it's not going to work. Your odds of getting hit by lightning are much better.
There you go. Well, Steve, always good to hear from you. My goodness, always good to hear from you. Thank you. Come up with some really good thoughts here. Thank you, Steve. Who else would like to speak up? We got a lot of people in the blue zone. They want to speak up. So if you want to say something, you're on with us. Go ahead. We got 602. Did 602 speak up? Go ahead, 602.
Hey, Rick, what's up?
Good, Gilbert. Yep.
Hey, listen. I am highly offended, and I am pissed off about the subject of pioneering. Let me tell you why. Because don't you remember over years I've been telling you words mean things?
Yes.
Words mean things. And you have to live by that motto. Words mean things. And this is what our governments or religions, anybody evil like the devil is always changing the words. And this is what Watchtower is doing with the word pioneering. Now listen, Lewis and Clark, when they were going through the Missouri River all the way up west, they were pioneers. The Okies, the people from Oklahoma in the land rush, and then the people that from Oklahoma and the sand, when everything dried up and they were going to California, they were Okies. They were pioneers. You saw Grapes of Wrath, where Henry Fonda buried his dad in the side of the road. They were pioneers. They were going where no man has gone, like Star Trek, right? They're pioneers. And so Jehovah's Witnesses are not pioneers. Listen, when I was 19 years old, I don't know why I didn't get this fellowship because I yelled at all of the elders. And the town was not big enough. I was a 19-year-old kid, but and it was one huge, I remember it was just one huge Spanish congregation. And it's like the saying says, this town isn't big enough for the two of us. And I had to leave. I couldn't be in that town, so I moved to a congregation east of Yuma. And there was about 2-3 people that would show up on a Sunday. The elders, the ministerial servants wouldn't go to the meetings. And they just kept it, alive. They don't want the numbers to die. So I'm 19 years old. And I was driving this weekend with Nadine, and I showed her. I go, we were 60 miles outside of Yuma. And I go, you see those mountains way up there? They're like another 90. I used to drive out there. I was 19 years old. I used to drive out there 90 miles to the book study. And then on a Wednesday morning, I'd drive back home as I visited the farms, and I found Jehovah's Witnesses everywhere. And the thing is about when you're out in the middle of the nowhere deserts, it's kind of like traveling to West Virginia. It's kind of like Deliverance. So I'm a 19-year-old kid, and by the time I'm 21 years old, there was 100 people in that congregation. So then I moved back to Yuma. We formed another congregation. So I did the prison work, the state and the private. Listen, I'm not tooting my horn, but they're not pioneers. I was a pioneer. I built congregations in Yuma. I have the receipts, and I'm not just saying this to brag, but it's like me telling you, how to run your business or how to run a podcast. You're like, Gilbert, don't tell me, it's insulting. And so the word pioneering really is insulting to the people who really are pioneers, the people that actually open up a small little shop and they start feeding homeless. Those are pioneers. Or people that open up a small little church and they just go around like, here, this guy told me, he goes, Gilbert, don't go to Goodwill, my neighbor. He goes, go to St. Vincent de Paul and drop off all your stuff because we use the money and we help all the old people here and the ones that need money for the electric bill for the summertime. There's a high cost of AC. So, but the point is that they're pioneers. And so the Jehovah's Witnesses, when they're listening to this show, they don't understand that they're being stupefied. Because here they're saying, well, we're pioneers. No, you're not. Lewis and Clark was a pioneer. The people that were running to Oklahoma in the land rush, they were pioneers. The people that build congregations out of nothing are pioneers. The elders that go and build one congregation, another congregation, those are pioneers. They're not pioneers, and words mean things. And this is why, Rick, I'm glad I called in. I hope I made you look good, because that's my goal every time I call in. I try to make the 6 screens look like the best XJW show on earth. So I hope I helped you. Oh, yeah. And you're a pioneer, for crying out loud. Rick Farron is a pioneer. Look, I met you. When did I meet you? When I was pioneering, and you and I, when you were recording, and I was protesting and being hosed down at Watchtower. You were there. I was being hosed down. You were recording it.
That's right.
We were pioneers.
Well, you made a good point. It's a darn good point. Yeah.
Rick?
Yes.
That's my favorite comment all year, Gilbert. And not all the wagons had covers. My family went west.
Rick?
Yes.
This is Zachary again. Okay. Let me confess how I feel. I felt. Remember I said I don't believe it's 20%. And I'm thinking to myself, Susan must have misheard something. And so, I go to the 2025 annual service report in the yearbook. The average number of pioneers per month is 1,743,567. Divide that by the average publishers preaching each month of 9,047,083. It comes to 19.2%. So it is 1 in 5. That's 1 in 5. She didn't mishear. She was accurate. The report says 1 in 5. You do the math.
Yeah, well,
I can't get over that.
yeah, no, if you go back on the trail, because we didn't have that. We didn't have 1 in 5 my congregation. I'll tell you that.
No,
No.
we didn't either.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Well, thank you, Jack, for checking that out for us. Appreciate it.
Yep, and that's not AI. That's the Watchtower online library.
There you go. Okay, we'll take it.
The yearbook.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Nicole. Was that you, Nicole? The other was another one.
Rick, it's Donnie here.
Oh, Donnie. Yes, Donnie. Okay, go ahead, Donnie.
Yeah, hi there. I just want to say, what's weird to me is that Watchtower, they keep bragging about how many pioneers they have, but the hour requirement keeps going down. So that's cheating the numbers, isn't it?
Well, that's
It's like they're lowering their standards. They're lowering their standards so that the figures don't drop. I mean, that's like cheating in business. The business would, it would fail, wouldn't it, in the end? And how the Jehovah's Witnesses don't look at this and not see that it's all a load of nonsense, just trying to pretend that they're all doing well. They're doing terrible. Because, when I got baptized, I auxiliary pioneered, I had to do 60 hours, and then when I left 3 years ago, I could auxiliary pioneer just 15 hours if the circuit overseer was there. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. The standards are just getting lower and lower. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
well. Thank you, Donnie. Always good to hear from you. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
One more thing, this Zachary again. Okay, we're saying 90 hours a month is what it used to be. No, it used to be 100 hours a month for what they call full-time pioneers. And if you didn't do it full-time, you were called a vacation pioneer, and you had to do 100 hours per month as a vacation pioneer. And if you did it for 2 weeks, you had to do 75 hours that month. 50 hours in the 2 weeks you were vacation pioneering, and 25 hours the rest of the month. And that carried over into the next arrangement of regular pioneer and temporary pioneer. So the thing is, so what are you calling a pioneer? I guess
I'm the real pioneer. I'm Daniel. My name's Daniel Boone.
I know you are. Yes, but I'm saying what are you? What are we talking about? The 2025 pioneer or the 1980 pioneer? You kind of have to put a year with it to know what you're talking about now.
Well, I'll tell you, thank you for sharing those stats with us, Zach. That's good. No, well, listen, we've been talking a lot about pioneers, but that I don't know how many people heard that talk today. This so-called branch office talk all across America. All the witnesses went in. Well, half of them went there today. Half are going to go there tomorrow. But in the context of the speakers talking today at the branch, they were talking about how a lot of witnesses can get tired. The speaker actually addressed the reality that many feel increasingly tired due to the stresses of this system. So I had to stop and examine that statement too. Why do you think a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are tired? I'm sure it's partly because of stress from the system. What do you think is the reason why witnesses are tired, Junction Guy?
Oh, Rick?
Yeah, well, hold on. Let's go to Junction Guy first. Well,
okay. You said, why are witnesses tired?
Yeah, I wanted to try to finish what I was saying. Then we can let me finish what I was saying. This is what he brought up today at the branch office. The speaker addressed the reality that many Jehovah's Witnesses feel increasingly tired due to the stresses of this system. Now, he says also they feel tired because of advancing age, illness, responsibilities, but he doesn't say that, the Jehovah's Witness religion is making them tired. It's everything else but that. What do you think, RJ?
I think I don't want to compare it to inflation, but when when things cost more money, your volunteer time, it decreases. Like, back in the day, when things were stabilized, you could say, well, I got paid from this job, so I can take a little time off. But when your $6 sub from Subway costs $12, then you can't really afford to work 15 hours a week. It's got to be like you got to spend more time working to keep up with everything.
Yeah, well, that's what the brother there was talking about today, that the witnesses are getting tired. He mentioned the stresses of life. I mean, that could include inflation. That could include the work that you do. He talked about, people getting older. That makes them feel tired. He talked about people get sick. That makes you feel tired. But he didn't talk about, the added burdens that the Watchtower puts on people. I mean, that's what used to tire me out the most. I'm a lot less tired.
They don't have a good sleep schedule if they're out in service all the time, and they don't have enough money to buy any red meat.
Yeah.
We used to put in 90 hours. We used to put in 90 hours a month.
I know.
Okay. And man, one time they had a big to get together. I think it was at Pioneer School. They're asking everybody, what did you give up for pioneering? And they're all giving all these answers about all these things they gave up. And they got to me and I said, dang, I really didn't give anything up. But the thing is I kept all my stuff, but I still put the hours in, but yeah, it was a lot of hours. Just think about that. How many, we were the leader really in the setting the example in the congregation, because we're putting all that time in, all that gas money and our tires, like you guys were talking about before. And so that's a big job being a pioneer. Like I said,
Yeah.
By the way, my name's Davy Crockett. I'd like to introduce myself. Hi, Davy. I'm just kidding, but
Well, listen, in fact, I got another thought I want to come up with here. I got another thing I want to share with you guys. I know you probably don't read all the Watchtowers, but I kind of have to keep up on some of this stuff to do the news. But I'm noticing here in the September 28th, Watchtower Study Edition also carries over to the next study edition, October 4th. But paragraph 4, particularly here, I'm noticing something that might be showing a real shift in where the Watchtower is going in the future, because we know they've been making shifts right along. But they're now saying, it's right there in the Watchtower, paragraph 4, August 4th edition, 2026 Watchtower. They now say that the Bible student should not dictate himself. I'm sorry, not dictate, but he should not dedicate. The Bible student, meaning the witness, he's studying the Bible. Now, that's interesting, referring to the Bible student. They're talking about someone, learning about Jehovah and trying to come to grips with Jehovah's message. So they say the Bible student should not dedicate himself to a set of teachings, to a teacher, or to an organization. Now, that's odd to me. I mean, we were told when we were learning the so-called truth that we had to dedicate ourselves to the teachings of the Watchtower. We had to dedicate ourselves to our teachers, the elders in the congregation, and we had to dedicate ourselves to an organization, the Watchtower organization. Now, that paragraph, I'm reading it verbatim, they're now saying that the Bible student should not dedicate himself to a set of teachings, to a teacher, or to an organization. This is very shocking to me, because it's very significant, because loyalty to the organization was always paramount to Jehovah's Witnesses and paramount to the governing body. So now they're coming out and saying, let's not dedicate ourselves to this. I mean, that's a complete reversal. It's almost like
I don't think so.
It's totally opposite.
I don't think that's a reversal.
No?
No, that's not a reversal. Hey, Randy, We were told to dedicate ourselves to do God's will. And the witness viewpoint is God's will is expressed through their publications. You know, the way they explain the Bible, they're expressing God's will. So the dedication was to God, but it would be, we would be helped by keeping up with the publications and staying with Jehovah's organization.
Right.
And also in that pioneer talk, don't forget about the fact that years and years and years ago, they used to have quotas too with publications and Bible studies.
So, so Zach, you don't really see, yeah, hold on one second. I want to ask Zach a question. Hold on one second. I want to ask Zach a question. So Zach, you don't see any problem with the October 4th, 2026 Watchtower Study Edition saying that we should not dedicate ourselves to the teachings, to the teacher, or to the organization. I mean,
I don't think that's a change, is my point.
Okay.
I think that they've always said you're dedicating yourself to do God's will.
Oh no, they did say that, but I mean the implication of it all, that's I mean, when you were a Bethelite and you went to Bethel and you dedicated yourself to Jehovah, I mean, you really were going to follow the teachings and put all your heart into your teacher and to the organization, where you're not.
Yes, I believe the organization that Jehovah was using it. So I stayed in harmony. But it was Jehovah that my relationship was with God.
All right. No, I got you. No, I see where you're a good thinker. You really, you would have been a good lawyer, Zach. You would have, really. I really mean that.
We were even told, if I can think about it, that when we explain the scriptures, that we should say that the Bible says, rather than
what man said. Good. All right. No. Okay. No. I get where you're going. Hey, I want to bring a new man in here, a new person in here. Let's go to 860. 860. You're on with us.
Hi, Rick. It's me, Deborah from Connecticut.
Oh, hi, Deborah.
So my question is not in those particular words, but it means the same thing. What are they going to do about the baptism? Because when you think about it, you're not dedicating yourself to the organization, but they have you agree. You're in agreement to being associated with. You know, it's almost the same thing. They're going to have to change the baptismal words.
Deborah, you're on the ball. You're on the ball. That's I got thinking that myself. I mean, we dedicated. Well, when I was baptized back in 1967. So I was baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But in 1983, I believe it was, or 85, I think 83, they took and they changed it to dedicate Father, Son, and into an organization, spirit-directed organization.
Well, actually, in that question, they asked, are you aware that your dedication or your baptism identifies you as one of Jehovah's Witnesses in association with God's spirit-directed
Exactly.
That's
but the same thing. Exactly. But if you look at it that way, it's the same thing. You're dedicating yourself to the organization.
But I'm making
You're not dedicating yourself to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Because they come nowhere in the picture in that baptismal.
I do think that is pulling the word farther. I think they had enough foresight thought to recognize that, and that's why the word is the way they did.
Just like they did with this blood transfusion stuff, right? They didn't think that out very well now, did they?
Well, Deborah, you're a sharp woman. You're picking up on stuff. You're reading between the lines, and that's good. Then Watchtower doesn't want you to do that. Well, we love you too, Deborah.
I love Susan. Say hi to Susan for me.
Well, I will. Well, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you, Deborah. A junction boy, a junction guy. Do you want to come on? I see you really want to come on down there from Tennessee. You're on with us, junction guy. Go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. What do you got to say, junction guy?
Oh, well, I had a lot to say, a lot going through my head. I'm wondering, that what was put in print was for the benefit of those in the service, so they can tell everybody, see, we don't follow an organization. That's my thought on that. But it also could be legal stuff, all these new changes that's come along for legal purposes. When they go in a court of law, they can say, see, we're not a cult. We don't follow the organization. We follow God, That's my point on that.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
And something else I was going to say, I remember, when I was a witness, the Watchtower and Wakes coming out a couple months ahead of time. But now we've got them coming out in September, 6 months ahead. I don't remember that, back then, coming out 6 months ahead.
Well, they're doing that. See, basically what they're doing now, junction guy, I know you've been out for a while, but they still every month do the Watchtower Study Edition, and they do it well in advance. But they don't print it. They're only printing. I don't think they're printing any new public edition Watchtowers. They're using older ones right now. So they get plenty of time there, I guess, at Bethel to just print stuff way ahead of time. So that's, I think, is the reason for that, but it is way ahead. It was never that far ahead. Yeah, we're looking at October 4th. I'm reading here with this information. Yeah, but listen, the crazy. Did you when you were with? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to ask you, when you were a witness and you got your magazines. Usually, sometimes I remember it's like 2 months ahead. Did you ever read like ahead? I never did. I always just waited to the night before. I used to study my Watchtower. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much.
I always read ahead. I read ahead. I'm that person.
Yeah. Well, I thought you might be, Pixie. I thought you might be.
Yeah. I would read.
I got that spiritual food. I wanted it.
You with us, Junction guys? We lose you?
Still there?
Yeah, go ahead. You with us? Yep.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'd read the Awake magazine. It was the most interesting, and I would look for questions from readers. That's what I would do. Of course, we always had our family study the night before. But I was going to say, you're talking about the pioneers, the 1 in 5. And I'm wondering, a lot of witnesses fudge on their hours,
Oh yeah.
Or look for anything to count, any little situation they'll count it, And then I got to thinking, I wonder what the percentage of pioneers in wealthy, affluent congregations versus those in poor or maybe immigrant congregations are. That's what I would like to know. If there's the wealthier congregations don't have a lot of pioneers versus maybe the immigrant congregations, or it could be the other way, the reverse.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I don't know if a wealthier congregation would have more pioneers because they have more money to do it, or whether the poor congregations might do it. It's hard to know.
I think the wealthier would have more because that's the only bracket now where sometimes women can be at home. Whereas with the pool, the man and woman both have to work very hard for very little.
And but even some even in a poor congregation, like for example, like retired people, I guess they could do it in a rich congregation too. But I'm thinking a lot of in poor congregations, a lot of people do get like assistance and help from the government, so they might be able to. In fact, the Watchtower even encourages that, and many people are in the pioneer ranks because they are getting help from the government and they can do it without having to work full time. So I wouldn't know. Maybe Chat GPT will know it. I don't know. Yeah. Well, very good. All right. Let's you. Yeah.
Okay.
a minute ago, you said you asked about did you read or study Watchtower like way in advance, and you said often you usually studied the night before.
Right.
So I have confessions here. I want to ask you, did you ever find yourself studying a paragraph before?
Well, no, in fact, no. Well, I'll tell you what I did, Zach, because I mean, I was wiggling my way loose, and I really, in fact, I would study. I'm talking sometimes 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday night. I just didn't study for 5 minutes, and I would really when I went in and answered. In fact, I'll tell you what happened to me. Of course, I'm not, boasting or anything, but I was of the anointed class. I think most people know that. So, I figured I had to really set the example. You can't have an anointed person there, underlining as the brothers walking by. So, I mean, I really went, I really took my time and studied, but in fact, I got in trouble for studying too hard. I really did, because I would answer. What I would do is they would call on me, and I would answer, and it got to the point that nobody else would answer. So I was called in the back room twice because of that. Because my former wife and we studied together, and we had really knew what we were talking about when it came to the scriptures. So anyways, I was called in the back room, and the elder, the Watchtower conductor said to me, "Rick, don't comment like that." I says, "Like what?" He says, "Your comments are too eloquent. Nobody can comment." Now, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, because I was studying, I'm not patting myself on the back here. I really studied the scriptures. In other words, all those scriptures I looked up. I tried to really understand exactly what they were saying. And so he was upset with me that I was answering like that, because he said nobody else can answer like that. So when you speak up, then nobody wants to. They can't answer like that, so they feel like they don't want to answer at all. So I said, "Yeah, but that's not my fault, Yeah, go ahead."
I went to a Toastmasters meeting one day, and they gave this thing. They said, "Hey, here's how to give a talk on inspiration." And anyway, I loved it, and I said, "Man, I'm going to put that in my next talk." So I talked about this brother that went fishing, and I said, "Man, he got up at 5 a.m. He ripped these weeds out. He went through the weeds. He was up early, and he threw his pole in the water. He was so excited." And I said, "That's the attitude we got to have as witnesses." And the brother looked at me, and he goes, "Where?" The same thing. He didn't say hell, but he's like, "Where in the hell did you get that?" It was like there were so many good points he said you could have brought out, and he gave me a fat W. I want you to work on this again, brother. And it's like it was the craziest thing. Hey, Rick, I was going to ask you, did you hear in that talk where they said who's responsible to raise your kids? I don't know if Susan took notes on that, but it said the Watchtower was first and the father was second. Did you hear that?
I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost fell over. It says the Watchtower. The Watchtower, that's where we get our food. And then it was the man, and I was like, my God, a woman doesn't have any responsibility, and the self-esteem and it's all on the man. I was like, wow. And one of the things I told my uncle was, I said, when you meet a witness now, it's like, you guys should rejoice. The day's getting near. Lift your heads up and rejoice. And I said, but when you talk to a witness now, they don't say that scripture in Hebrews. It says, don't forsake the gathering of some, but all the more so as you behold the day God drawing near. And I said, but when I meet witnesses, they're like, Dan, you got to come back, man. It's easy now. We only have this and that, and they're so joyful. And I thought we were going to the meeting and not forsaken because we didn't want to be any part of the world. The world would snatch us away. We would be totally consumed by Jehovah's organization. And now all that's gone to the wayside. We follow the Bible, Dan. Okay.
Well, that's
And the way I do that, with the way you've explained it, that takes, it used to be where the man of the house that was his castle, and the women and the children looked up to the father figure. and the husband figure. With Watchtower at the top, that's not correct because the man is supposed to be Christ-like. So they've really taken the dad figure and taken him off his pedestal.
Good point. And they also said this about baptism. Rick probably caught this, but they said you had to stand up and make a declaration to Jehovah. I think I had to do that, but you had to stand up before that. So they showed slides of people standing up and saying, right now, you're going to make a declaration to Jehovah's organization.
That's a contract.
Yeah, I was like, I forgot about that. But it's all about the organization. It's all about, and that whole thing about the baptism. Did you catch that, Rick? The baptism of the elders, that they were being baptized into the brothers of Jesus Christ. Did you get that?
Yeah, I didn't get that part either. There's a few pieces there that I missed. But tell us a little bit about, if you can explain that to us a little bit.
They were just explaining the baptisms, the baptism and how it works and, the declaration. But they said now the anointed, they have a baptism as children of Jesus, something like the brothers of Jesus, Jesus' brothers. And I've never heard anything like that. I never heard anything ever like that, but it's definitely a different baptism. And he said, and it says when they step forward and they have that knowing, that inner knowing that they're the, like you have the chosen ones. I don't know how you call it, but that they have that special, unique calling into that brotherhood with Christ. I didn't know there was a baptism into that. I didn't know. I don't know if it was literal or figurative, but they said that there was a special, it was definitely a special baptism into the brothers of Jesus. They're the brothers of Jesus.
Well, I think.
Nobody else is.
Well, I'm hearing that basically for the first time. We're going to do a little more on that, maybe bring it up next week. But on the surface, what's got me thinking, see, as a real Christian, in fact, even as an anointed Christian, when you're baptized, it's even a real Christian does not have to be baptized in water. A real Christian is baptized with fire. Now, what does that mean? That means they're baptized by the Holy Spirit. So maybe some witnesses are questioning the fact that, well, how is it that great crowd members, including elders, how is it that they're not baptized by fire according to the Christian real doctrine? So they might be trying to even look at what I think could be happening, Dan, is the Watchtower has to move to mainstream Christianity.
Yeah.
And they gotta.
I think that's the new Bible. I think that's going to be the new Bible.
And they gotta take some of this doctrine that they had that's muddied, but they just can't come out and change it. So just like with the blood situation, they're clarifying it. And eventually they'll clarify a lot of their teachings to come in more line with the Christian truth, so to speak, because they're gonna have to. They want to reach a large audience. The people that like us, getting older, they don't really need us anymore. They need young ones that will connect. That can't connect with 1975, 1914, any of that stuff. So we're dinosaurs. When we're gone, it's a whole new organization, and they have to make it more mainstream Christian.
They've fallen off the beam because they don't even say Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit one time in that pool.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And they used to in the old Bible student days and up through a certain date, they didn't have that contract with the corporation. It was Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, just like every other flavor of Christianity in your town.
They were saying that today. They were saying Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But the Holy Spirit was very weak. They kept linking the Holy Spirit to Jehovah's organization because they said something like, they didn't say it this way, but it's like there's no Holy Spirit. There's no hearing Jehovah. He doesn't verbally talk to anybody. So they were saying he talks to the organization, but they did say that we're baptizing in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. They said it over and over.
They did say that.
The only one there is, and in the Bible, my dad would say that's not Bible because there's no organization in that Bible like that.
Well, that is fascinating to me. That's showing me really they're trying to they got to change what everything. They've got to change everything, and they're trying to do it step by step. But some of this stuff's going to jump up and bite them in the rear end because some of it they got to go very slow with this because I mean a lot of witnesses right now have their donkey overloaded. They're scratching their head. I get people that are getting a hold of me and saying to me, Rick, my family, they're questioning this, but they're trying to do it like they're not. But he says, I know they are. Like I said a few weeks ago, they're in denial. They know what's going on. They know there's monumental changes, but they don't want to come out and say, well, you're right, sonny boy. They're not going to say that. All right. Well, anyways, anyone have any last thoughts here before we move on to our after-hour program? Do we want Chicago to come in? You want to say something, Chicago?
Hey, Rick,
Yeah. Yes, Susan.
I just wanted to mention that, new Bible that they have, they were quoting that because I guess they have little statements or little additions all the way through, what things mean, maybe what words. It would be nice if we could all get some of those new Bibles, find out what they're really saying.
Well, now, Susan, you do say that you did hear something about that new Bible there today, right?
I got a question.
Yeah.
When you say new Bible, what are you talking about? Not another new one. You're talking about the silver sword, right?
Well, what we have heard, this is the message that was given. Now, I don't know if you follow some of these like Reddit forum or JWN, Zach, but all over these forums for the last 2 weeks, they were talking about this big zone meeting that's going to come on April 17th, 18th, which was today. So what they were saying, many were saying that they heard there's going to be a new Bible released. Now, they didn't come out and make it clear. It wasn't clear that we have a new Bible. And it wasn't really clear that they're referring to the New World Translation. But so many people were saying online, we're going to have a new Bible. As a matter of fact, that's...
My uncle told me last night they were coming out with a new Bible, and he wanted me to go on there, and he wanted me to hear that announcement. And he said they haven't had a meeting like this since 2014, and he's only had one other one in his life. So I was all eager to go in, but I was waiting for the Bible announcement too. I don't know exactly. It might be an app. It might be an app for their tablets. I don't know. But they did say, my uncle did say he's expecting them. He thought today they were going to announce the new Bible.
Yeah, they do another new one. I'm stumbled.
Well, they so Susan's telling me here now. She was listening intently to it, and she was saying here that they were quoting all through that segment about the Bible, quoting from a new Bible, not the New World Translation. They were taking. Well, go ahead over there and get on the phone and tell the people.
My phone won't work.
Oh, won't work. She's okay. So she's telling me here now her phone's not working right now, but she's saying they were quoting right along. They were quoting right along that it's a new Bible and the verses they were using were not from the New World Translation. So that
They were from the new world.
they were from the new translation. Now, Dan, you mentioned that your uncle said they haven't had a talk like this since 2014.
2014.
Well,
and
that's.
He said there's only been one other one in the time he's been in the truth and he's 81 years old. So he said it was a very special meeting, governing body people. But here's the thing, Rick. 2 years ago, I took that silver sword into an assembly, and the elder laughed at me. And he said, I think the silver sword's a new one, right?
Yes.
Like that. But the guy laughed at me, and he said, what are you doing with that antique? And I said, antique? He goes, look around. And Angela said, Dan, everybody's got a tablet in here. He goes, we haven't used the Bible in 10 years. This is how old this thing is. And I forgot. I got the thing handed to me by my uncle when my mom died over 10 years ago. So it is some new Bible. My uncle said he thought today that the announcement was going to be for the new Bible, and I didn't say anything because I just wanted to go on and hear the announcement. But
Well, if he said the last time was 2014, that's right around the time that the Silver Sword came out. So
Oh, gotcha.
you see,
He was excited about it. He thought it was going to be the new Bible, and I've heard the rumors, but when I heard it last night when we were talking 3 hours into the night, he says, "I hope you show up tomorrow and just try to have an open mind." And I said, "I always have an open mind. We'll see what they say."
yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Have an open mind. Have an open mind. Have an open mind, but with no memory of what was before.
Exactly. I want to take a vote that we do a confession booth for Zachary.
Yeah.
Zachary said so many confessions tonight.
Yeah.
We need to do a confession booth.
Well, well, that's
I'm wondering if this is for the globalism. I'm wondering if this Bible will be an NLT, like the paperback that was sent to me from Tennessee, or if it will be a Witness New World Translation Part 2. I mean, I wonder if this is going to be more what the neighbors would have down the street or less what the neighbors would have down the street.
Christian 2.0. And we told them, don't paint it gray, whatever the hell you do. Don't paint it gray or green. Do a black Bible, Jesus.
Maybe it will have 88 books.
That would be nice. That would be nice. I'm enjoying that.
Hey, Jack, you got me thinking with that. That's how many books of the Bible originally there were. I mean, yeah. So, maybe they'll see we'll get the real truth because of that. But no, that's interesting about this Bible because they didn't make it perfectly clear. The Watchtower lately is not making things totally clear to anybody, even to us apostates. Why?
Imagine if it has the Book of Thomas and the Apocrypha.
It's interesting when you say that's that's what it was. That scripture in Revelation that says, "Don't add to or take away."
Yeah.
If that was in that Bible, that is quite interesting. That it's got less. A lot has been taken away.
Well, we got a changing organization, that's for sure. It's with a lot of people. I'm looking, I tell you, I've been saying this all night. We have been seeing our little computer screen here exploding. The telephone lines calling in from all over the place. And I'll tell you, our viewership has gone up double in 2 months. And I'm wondering what is going on. And the only thing I can really attribute it to is there's got to be so many people that are leaving or doubting or something. Something is going on because this is like phenomenal to see this. You hear all the callers. I'm looking at a full computer screen here right now. And at times it looks like the New York Stock Exchange ticker tapes. There were telephone numbers coming through here. These are people calling in from all over the world. And, they want to voice their opinion. So something is happening. And it's not just me saying that. The viewership and people watching YouTubes, people watching and people getting into Reddit, their numbers are increasing. Something is going on. And I believe what's happening right now, I believe there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses listening into this program tonight. I'm seeing a lot of new numbers I've never seen before. And I believe that, they got to be very cautious, and I can understand it. But if I was getting all of this new change in policy, blood policy, doctrine, it would drive me to start looking around too, but I have to be very cautious. And I think that's what's going on. So if you're listening in here tonight, don't run away and think we're all a bunch of mad, irate apostates. We're normal people. We're not mentally diseased. We're not agents of Satan, the devil. We're just trying to help you. We're not here to hurt you. We've all been witnesses. We found out about them. So please look into them, research them. And now that AI is out there, that can help you tremendously. Check some of this stuff out. You'll be surprised. Well, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming into the 6 screens tonight. And a very good program. A lot of callers calling in. You are the folks that make the program. And that's what people write me all the time. Rick, I love to hear the people calling in. That's what really makes this program unique and different. So thank you for doing that, all the people that do. And if you haven't spoken up yet, muster up the courage. Now, tomorrow we do 6 Screen Sunday. Now, maybe it's not for you. We don't talk about theology. We don't get into scriptures. We don't get into false prophecies that much on a Saturday night. But on Sunday, we get into theology. And, if you were in the Watchtower, you have to understand that there's a lot of things that were taught to you that are wrong. What we do on Sundays is we try to sort some of that stuff out. So we do have a program starting at 1 o'clock tomorrow. It's called Knowing God After the Watchtower. It's 1 o'clock, same YouTube, Facebook channel, telephone number. But Scott Walton, he's coming on tomorrow, and he is a Christian apologist, and he helps you with your thoughts on Jehovah's Witness doctrine and teaching, as well as Jay Hess, who answers your Bible questions. And we also have another program where witnesses come in, ex-witnesses, and tell their story of being in the Watchtower. So, give us a try on Sunday. And if you'd like to tell your story, Anne Marie has a program. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses share their story of being in the Watchtower. She comes on at 2 o'clock tomorrow, Eastern time, and she'll give you the time. If you have a story to tell, call her tomorrow and tell your story. Well, we do have a program after this. The program after this is called After Party. Pixie made that name up, but we'll go with it. It's called the After Party. People get in, they have a good time. And, they can... There's no recording. It's not recorded. Nobody knows who you are. Use a fictitious name. But the only thing I ask is be civil. Use your sense there, because remember, your phone is a microphone. So, any noise in the background. So you want to unmute yourself by hitting *6. And if you get to hit *6 again, always just hold your hand over the receiver so it doesn't make a lot of background noise. So anyways, thank you for coming in. And I want to say this, keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. Please turn off the new light. Thank you for spending some time with us on the 6 Screens tonight.